I've lived with it all my life.
Oh, leave
Right.
meeting, definitely. No, got it.
No, I will agree. 589.
And my brother's called Andrew Fife, so that's even more stuff.
Oh, wow.
Than that.
Oh, excellent.
Good.
Good stuff. Hi, Andrew.
Ian's brother is also called Andrew, actually.
Just not 5.
Not 5.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, right. Oh, we've got some more people joining. Oh, there's Dave Oggy. Hey, how you doing, mate? Hi, Dave. Oh, can you hear? Anyway,
There's no meeting without technical issues.
well, that's it. That's it. We couldn't have a V tasting without some sort of peeing about at the beginning.
That's just the reality of things, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you very much, guys, for joining. We are now recording the session as well for those, because we've had a few people who just can't make it tonight, including Becca, for example, who normally handles the recording and stuff, but it is now recording. So let's all swear a lot, and let's slag loads of distilleries off or cask investment companies, you name it. I'm pretty sure we can come up with lots to have a go at.
Well, yeah, we do that too.
Not too much though. Don't you don't want to paint us as
horrible?
you don't want to paint us as horrible people before we even started.
No, we're just honest.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like the Fettercairn back label. If you ever see the bottle pokes fun at, how shall we say,
Oh, the Fettercairn.
pretentious Belmore is.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
Nice whiskey, bit pretentious.
yes, well, and stuff full of caramel, but we won't go into that. Anyway,
Yes, well,
right. So thanks very much, guys, for joining. For those that haven't been to a NEWAS tasting before, I think you'll pretty much quickly realize that there's not really a plan to this. We're making this shit up as we go. And really it's about just having a bit of a laugh but also trying some fantastic whiskey. And tonight we have our friends Aidan and Ian from Fib Whisky to join us and talk us through what is a wonderful lineup of 6 whiskies. And the first one we'll be starting with is the Port Dundas, which is the upward arrow, onwards and upwards, for anybody who has missed that so far. Please use the chat box if you want to ask a question, or jump in a moment of silence if you have a question to ask, or you've got some feedback on some of the whiskies. That's the up arrow. Look at that artwork.
That's spectacular. I love it.
That is spectacular. I mean, no expense spared, as usual. And you can't blame me for the order this time. I purposely used symbols rather than numbers because I didn't have a clue how Ian and Aidan might have wanted to run this. So I kind of left it up to them.
Yeah, we only told you guys yesterday, sorry.
Yeah, no. Normally we have a complete guest every night. Every tasting is different. So, but the first one is that, and I'd like to kind of just introduce you guys. I don't know if you want to kind of give a little bit of an introduction to Fib, but if you want to start nosing and or sampling the first one, which is the Port Dundas, please fire away.
Yeah, I'll say a quick hello first, Aidan, and then I'll pass you on to you for the more in-depth stuff about the company.
Quite all right.
But I'll just say hello on behalf of Fib from me and Aidan. Thank you so much, Carl, and everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Ian. I'm the other half of Fib. There's only 2 of us. It's not a big team. It's just me and Aidan that do everything.
Yeah.
So most of the time, Aidan's drinking whiskey, and I'm running around Scotland like a crazy person, trying to sort many things. But thank you so much, Carl, for having us, and it's awesome to meet everyone virtually. And you have definitely been, as I think I was saying it to Cameron when I was last visiting the warehousing that we use in Auchtermuchty, that you guys have definitely been the nicest. Yes, the first one is the up arrow, that is correct. But yeah, you guys have definitely been the nicest Facebook group, like the most welcoming online whiskey community that we have come across since we launched in October. So thank you for being so nice. And I'll pass you on to Aidan just to give you a very basic introduction to what Fib is and who we are, if you want to take it on, Aidan.
Of course, of course. But yeah, as Ian said, you guys know your sport is frankly amazing. I mean, all whiskey fans are often enthusiastic about new bottlings and new bottlers, but as a new company, it's always great to see as well, because let's face it, takes a while to get any recognition usually. And we're doing our best to bring everyone great drams. Do you want to just show people the bottle there? Well, actually, you're just,
Yes, I can do. I'm sure Carl probably got them as well. But
those again.
And actually, yeah, that reminded me. I think actually the first ever purchase that we had online from Fib Whisky was within about an hour or two of us going live, and it was less than that. It was really quick, and it was someone from the Northeast Whisky Appreciation Society. So yeah, you guys bagged the first order. So sorry, it's not very full, this bottle, but this is the Port Dundas. And we've started with a very good one. It's pretty much one of my favourites.
I hope you haven't drunk all of that. Some of it's been samples.
Well, yeah, that has
drunk
been.
all of that, Ian.
No, it's not just. Don't worry. No, I've not just
I was
been
going to
drinking.
say, is that your personal bottle?
No, it's not my personal bottle. I
know we love this one, but
no, I have been sampling
you
today.
do have a personal bottle, don't you?
No, well, I've got bottles.
I
of all
need to
of them
get your
kicking
personal
around.
bottle then.
So,
Port
no.
Dundas. I mean, feel free to start nosing, dramming. I mean, so many ambassadors. Some ambassadors I've heard from, spoken to. Let's face it, a tasting shit if you're not already tasting. Feel free to start nosing and dramming. So
Basic facts for this one.
he says
so, yeah,
revisiting the dram himself.
Yeah, while you're revisiting it, Aidan, so basic facts for this one, because I know someone was asking. So it's 21 years old. So the cask was filled on the 10th of the 10th, 2000. So 10th of October 2000. So a very long time ago. Yeah, almost in another millennium.
Christ, I think you were only 8 then.
I know. I don't know what everyone did for bringing in the millennium, but I think I was in Arran actually, celebrating with my grandparents. So it's crazy to think that was when I was that age, this was being filled, which is nuts. But yeah, Port Dundas, which is now, it's no longer with us, sadly. It was a very good grain distillery in Glasgow, quite near, quite near, it's east end of
Well,
Glasgow.
actually, Dundas has quite an interesting history.
Yeah, go on in, yeah.
Because I was actually just looking this up before this. So they built it back in 1811 and tried to, put it up in the highest point in Glasgow, so it was the most big, prominent thing. And so it started with grain, 2 coffee stills, but they also did some malt production with pot stills. But there were 2 neighbouring distillery sites as well. Can't remember the first one, but also Dundas Hill, which they took over by the early 1900s. So came this massive sprawling site doing both grain and malt. But interestingly, I only realised on the site as well, they had a piggery.
They had a piggery?
Yes, apparently they were breeding pigs as well.
Is that the technical term?
And feeding them on the draft, yeah.
A piggery.
Never heard it called a piggery before.
No, neither have I.
I would have thought
Well,
it was a farm.
ScotchWhiskey.com.
I'm just wondering whether it's anything to do with the likes of Snatch, where they used to feed anybody who didn't pay their bills to the pigs.
Yeah, probably.
Glasgow being Glasgow. So that's quite cool. So for a long time, it was by far Scotland's largest producing distillery, eventually taken over by Diageo. They kept it running, fairly high production through to 2010, as Ian said. But Diageo being Diageo, they wanted one massive site and moved all their grain production to Cameron Bridge in Fife. It's actually in Leven, literally just about 8-10 miles down the road from where I am.
Yeah.
St Andrews, about 20-minute drive. Not that it's easy to get into Cameron Bridge, correct? It's one of the Diageos they do not let you see. Probably because a lot of people think grain is boring. Grain, in our view, is far from boring. I actually first discovered grain from independent bottlers. Really, I don't know how much grain everyone's had.
NEWAS is big grain fans.
Yay!
So, yeah,
Good. We love grain.
Yeah, there is a lot of people in the group that really, and I guess actually, I suppose we probably didn't really get into grain like many people, I guess, until relatively recently. I'm saying sort of for me personally, it was probably over the last sort of 4 or 5 years that I started.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
But I think, and grain's become a lot more popular now. I think a lot of people are quite familiar and even searching it out.
Yeah.
It's not as quite the amazing value it used to be, because it has gained in popularity, but it's still, you know, you can pick up some very well-aged and actually younger expressions of grain now.
You don't see a lot of younger, but it's good fun.
Yeah, and it's getting better as well, definitely, in terms of even the younger expressions. I don't know what other people might think about it.
The voodoo I got was only something like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think the voodoo that we had, that was a Cameron
cheap,
Bridge.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice.
But I was just going to say, Stuart shared the Fib Whisky link for the Port Dundas. Just so you're aware, Aidan and Ian have very kindly put together a discount code for the tasting. So just to let you know that for any of the bottles that you might have tried tonight that you fancy purchasing, then there'll be a code as well that you can use.
Well, it's the code in, or is it just random numbers?
No, don't worry. I tailored the code especially for you guys. So if you're on our website, fibwhisky.scot, when you get to the checkout, the code is YI10.
You might want to put that into the chat.
I'll put it into the chat. Yeah, when I but the code is
now.
and you do just get me right. Don't get me wrong. I might have got this wrong. You spell YIWEYAYE. Yes.
That's the reason why I was asking to put it in the chat box, because I think there's
if anyone has any just message us. Yeah, WEYA. So I'm saying it's YI10 for a 10% discount.
I'm glad you spelt it right.
Well, the internet did help me on that one.
Yay for research.
Yeah, but if you want some of the basic stats on this one, so it was a first fill bourbon hogshead. This one. So yeah, it was filled in 2000. We bottled it in September last year. So everything that we're tasting tonight is cask strength. So this is at 58.6% volume. And yeah, anyone want to put any tasting notes out there? What's everyone getting?
Loveliness.
Loveliness. Oh,
We'll take that. We'll take that.
Definitely smells like vanilla sponge.
Oh my good, you guys, you put 2 things, and I think you've actually got things that are on the bottle already.
Yeah, I did get that when I wrote the back label.
Yep.
I also get this little bit of orange juice almost.
A lemon drizzle cake, kind of. You know, when you say
I get that
sponge cake. There's for me, there's quite a lemony hit to that nose as well. I mean,
I got apple, not lemon, but yeah.
Right, okay.
I get that. Personally, I get more sort of a little bit of orange, but yeah.
I see what you mean with the lemon, Carl. I almost get like a sherbet lemon, like, you know, the old like boiled sweets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Back of my tongue.
And yet,
I like a paint. One thing I like about this is it's a lot less charry than some older grain. Not that that's a bad thing, but it makes this a lot lighter and fresher as far as dessert whiskey is concerned.
One thing that's really nice about this dram is it's unadulterated bourbon. You know, there's no finish to this. This is exactly, you know, it is a beautifully sweet. The taste for me is very different to the nose. So I was almost quite surprised by the taste when I was nosing it. I got such a different, you know, it's not as sweet. It's got a bit of spiciness going on there.
Yeah, towards the finish.
The flavors.
And you're quite right in what you say. I should probably say as well. So So this is from our Copper and Oak series. All the ones that we're trying tonight, well, no, I say that, that's a complete lie. 4 out of 6 of the ones we're trying tonight are from our Copper and Oak series. So this is the first series that we released. It's basically just what we've done. I'll get to it more when we get to the finishing cask, but these are the casks exactly as we got them. We haven't done anything to these. We haven't added any color or watered them down. So it's just cask strength as we got the casks. Obviously, we only bottled the casks that we thought were good enough to be bottled. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite one, and I totally get what you. And yeah, I'm agreeing with a lot of your
I
tasting
understand why
notes.
Ian thinks it's his favorite. It's not my personal favorite of the range.
I'm a sucker
But
for old grain though.
it's up there. So am I. Christ, grain is so good. So fucking-
Yeah, it is.
And I'll be honest, actually, my interest in whiskey came up through a society much like yours. Up in St Andrews, there's the Quake Society that does tastings for charity, usually every 2 weeks through the university semester, even though it's not officially university affiliated. But when I came up here for uni, I really got into whiskey in a big way by hearing from all the ambassadors there, and trying that range and diversity of spirit, basically. I think that's where butter popcorn. I like that.
No, that's a good one. We can get that on the website reviews.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout actually. I hadn't noticed that, but now you say it, I agree. Yeah, that's how I really first discovered grain.
Yummy.
But
Yeah.
societies like this are great. What were you about to say, Ian?
I was going to say, if you hang around long enough, you may not necessarily say that.
Nah, every individual has her perks, particularly after 6 drams.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Yeah.
stop them being great, even if they're quirky.
So what's everybody thinking about this one? Please dive in if you would like to give your opinion on it, or please use the chat box as well, or I might pick on somebody if there's nobody willing to take the limelight.
I like that note, Joe.
Lovely and warming, yeah. So Dave and Caroline, Howard, come on, tell us what you think of it.
Me first. So for me, I think it's for grain whiskey, it's actually very nice at that age. So for me, I'm typically a mid-20s to late 20s type person for grain. Anything beyond that, I think it kind of gets a bit too old. Anything a bit younger than that, it's normally a little bit too fiery still. I think it hasn't kind of settled itself down. But this is a really, really nice, creamy, fruity, very not a grain whiskey for me almost. I'm not really sure what fruit it is yet, but I'm really actually enjoying it. Yeah, it's
tropical fruits, but on the nose I get like a nice cinnamon strudel.
There you go.
I think there are a few things going on there. Yeah, I like
A lot
that.
of cake in this one. There's
A
definitely
lot of cake. A lot of cake. In fact, one of the
Bring on
tasting
the cake
notes,
mix.
that was one of the tasting. The main tasting note is a Victoria sponge cake, but not actually the cake itself. But when you're naughty and you shouldn't eat the mix in the bowl, but you do that.
Yeah.
I'm afraid, not being a huge cake person, I'll have to defer to those who do. But
I will freely
for me,
admit.
it's a very well-rounded grain whiskey, which I think is a good thing to say about them for a younger grain as well. So I wasn't expecting much when you said it was 21 years old or 22 years old. I said to Caroline straight away, for me, the sweet spot's 25 to maybe 30.
It is the younger side of old grain, I agree. When we
hits the
finally got
spots.
sampled this, we were so amazed.
What I find interesting as well is actually it's kept its strength despite its age. If it's 57 point something, 20 odd years old, that was a very, very good cask.
Yeah, 58.6. You rely on luck when buying, because a lot of these Port Dundas casks, when they come up, you don't buy them on RLA, so they're often not measured. It's often, this is what went into it originally, which is called OLA, original litres of alcohol that went into it. And yeah, quite often you can be unlucky and your cask can be pretty empty when it's that old. But no,
Or
we're
it's a
quite lucky.
regauge that's several years out of date.
Exactly. So we've got 137 bottles of this one, so we've not done too bad considering it. Well, I say that That's half the cask, but we'll come on to that later. 137 bottles.
So
is half
Copper
of
and
it.
Oak is for us all about celebrating the distillery itself. The distiller, the copper of the still, the wood they put in. That's the Copper and Oak series in a nutshell. No
It'd be
faff,
interesting,
just
although-
whiskey.
Although I don't think it would be fair anymore. It'd be interesting to see what happened to this a couple of years on, to see
Well-
what actually happens to that liquid. But given the fact you've taken half of it away, that's going to leave an awful lot of space in that cask for it to lose ABV, I would guess.
Well, we'll talk about that very shortly.
Yes, and you might be in luck.
Because that's exciting.
Yes.
Actually, shall we just explain that now? May as well while we're talking about it. So what we've done is the other half of each cask isn't in the same barrel it originally was. What we're doing is we've managed to source some really good barrels, mainly from a winery that we're friends with the owner on the Catalan coast of France. And what we decided to do was and this is a concept I've had since I decided to start the company back in 2018. But what we wanted to do was split the cask and then show people the effect of cask maturation and finish in another barrel, basically. So what the upcoming permutation series is that other half of the barrel re-racked into something fun. You're getting a sample of one of those on 40.
That's Carl's blood sample, yes.
The fifth dram, is it fifth? I think it's
Fifth one, yeah.
Yes.
And basically what we've done is we've re-racked that half for however long we felt it needed into, for example, white wine barrel or red wine barrique. We've got a couple in PX sherry barrels, a bodega that have also then held Spanish brandy. What you've got tonight is one of the red wine samples.
Yes.
That won't actually be officially launched until the Fib Whisky Festival at the start of March. So you're getting a 2-month preview on our pet project.
Yes, you're the first ones to try it.
Other than us.
Correct.
Do you know,
And
one
we're
thing
really
I've just noticed
excited.
about that? One of the things I've just noticed about this as well, I think you said this was a first fill bourbon cask. It's very light for a first fill
It is.
bourbon, given its age as well. It really is.
It
very
is.
light. Taking nothing away from it. I don't think it's a bad thing, but just something I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if the fact that it's a hogshead maybe played a slight. If it was a barrel, I reckon it'd be much darker.
Which
But,
should be more
yeah.
intense for the barrel.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that is a very valid point. But yeah, so no, that is so yeah, like you say, in the Copper and Oak series is half of the cask as it came to us, and then we re-rack the other 50% of the liquid, which will be our second series. So people can basically do a before and after for each of our single casks and see how literally the same single cask of whiskey has changed. So we should be able to do lots of cool before and after themed tastings. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. But
We're bottling those middle of next month.
we are, yeah. So if you're happy, I know people are probably gagging for more whiskey because it's a Friday night. Do you want to move on to the next one, Carl?
Well, we'll just do a quick thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down, and just see what kind of feedback we get. So,
Sideways.
which?
Oh, is this for whether we like the cask or not? Not whether you're moving on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is just for what we think of this Port Dundas.
Cool.
I'm just trying to see who was the sideways. I missed. Oh, Chris, I'm coming to you, and Stuart. We like to hear we like to hear the outliers more than the people who are kind of all kind of following the same sort of line, if they're like.
No, definitely.
That's more interesting.
So so Stuart, come on then, tell us why the sideways on this one. It wasn't your cup of tea as much as for other people.
Yeah, like I thought it was fine. I suppose for me, it just had a bit of a funky aftertaste that I wasn't overly keen on. It doesn't taste like licorice, but I don't know. It gives me the same sort of like. I don't like licorice.
That's interesting.
It's had that kind of same aftertaste I get from licorice in a weird way, but yeah, it was fine. Like I didn't dislike it, but I just there's something that on the finish that I wasn't wild about, I suppose.
I can understand that. And speaking of licorice, one of our upcoming casts for a future Copper Noak, we managed to get, I can't remember which story is offhand, but it was a Madeira barrel that they re-racked in a couple of years earlier. And when we tasted that, it was pure black licorice. You will hate it. I personally do not particularly like black licorice. I never got intense licorice on the whiskey before. That one, when we do bottle it, is very interesting. Not to my taste, not to your taste, Stuart. For those who like that sort of thing, it'll be brilliant.
So Stuart, you've got quite a broad sort of range of stuff that you like, because you are a bit of a grain fan as well, aren't you, ordinarily? Does this kind of compare with other grains that you've had recently, or and you find the same sort of thing, or is this kind of a bit of a standout in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few grains. I wouldn't say I particularly lean one way or the other. Like I wouldn't rule out a whiskey just because of grain, but I'm probably not as excited by it as some people. But I hate to kind of have that prejudice, like, oh, it's a grain, it must be rubbish.
Everyone's palate's different. Like I'm gonna like the same thing. Like it's totally fair. Like
yeah, different styles, different people.
For sure. Where do you stay, by the way? Do you stay in the northeast, by the way, Stuart?
No, I'm a Fifer. I actually live in Fife.
Way.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see you around.
Yeah, it's not just in the title. I actually do like come from Fife, you know. Unlike Tim.
Well, I stayed all my childhood in Currus, down by Dunfermline, before I then went to uni in St Andrews and decided to stay where I'm still based. Yay, Mon Fife. Hopefully we'll maybe see you at the Fife Whisky Festival if you have a ticket.
Oh,
yeah,
you're going to see a few people, yeah.
That'll be good.
So Chris, you weren't quite kind of 100% on this one either. What was your take on it?
I'm just not 100%. I think it's very nice, but I'm just not a big grain fan. So it's on the edge of it's nice, but it's not what I'm.
Yeah.
Not what you look for in a dram, but nice enough.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I feel like. Yeah,
that's fair. Totally
fair. Very nice and brilliant for its age. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Excellent.
You don't have to be so nice to us, you know.
Oh, but don't get out the pitchforks just yet.
Yeah, trust me on this. We're a straight talking bunch, so and it's better to be that way. You know, it's better to get genuine feedback.
I was gonna say yeah. I don't pull punches, so that was genuine from me. Yeah.
Right, glad to hear it then.
Good. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. What was your take on this one?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It reminds me of another grain whiskey that I've acquired from another bottler lately, but we won't mention them on here.
No, I'm happy to know about other guys.
Yeah, you can mention any bottlers. It's all right.
Go ahead. We are friends.
I'm looking at my whiskey broker bottle.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
whiskey broker. Sometimes they do some awesome value stuff. Actually, sometimes.
Yeah, they do.
And
we actually have a few barrels in their warehousing.
Yeah, the comparison, but it's a 15-year. The other one I've got, which was from the North British distillery.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
And it, even though there's a few years in it, it's the first real, let's say, proper grain whiskies that I've tried.
That's a very nice collection behind you, by the way.
Yeah, it's coming on. But yeah, I was nearly pouring a dram halfway through to get the comparison. So
yeah,
you could have. Why not?
Yeah,
is that the latest North British, Jonathan? That was the one that was released, so it's quite dark. It's got quite a big finish on it. Yeah. Yeah, it's very different to the one we've just tried. I guess for me, that would be the one that I would typically go with, like a dark, some form of big finish, especially if it was quite a younger sort of grain.
Yeah,
and that's what was surprising about this one, is that it is so nice as a bourbon without any finish. That's what I enjoyed about this. So
it's still I kind of really am new with the grain, but it takes me back to this, even though it's different. It's still got that. I suppose the gent who said about that funky finish on it.
Yeah,
it's a very distinct taste compared to single malt, isn't it? It's really different. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. But then again, there's not many whiskies I don't enjoy, so
that's always a good thing.
It's a good way to be.
Jonathan, I don't think you're trying, mate.
Hey,
you've got to try harder.
Even worse,
it's a fantastic bottle.
Yeah, I've got a second bottle up there as well. So
it was only about £35 or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
15-year-old North British shit. Really good, Dram. Really good.
Sold out now, unfortunately, though.
Yeah, well, I've got a bottle here if anyone wants to. Second bottle.
If it's still there, come the festival when we get down.
So I guess people are looking very parched. So the next one that we were going to try, and again, based on the feedback that Ian and Aidan gave me, was going to be the Fettercairn, and that's the tick. So the sample bottle, that's the tick. And diving.
That's better artwork.
Is that tick showing?
Oh, the tick is kind of showing.
Yeah, I can see the tick. I can see the tick.
Artwork. I think that's better than the arrow, anyway.
Slange.
Yes, Slange. I'll hold up the bottle. This is the full bottle of Fettercairn. It's probably the lightest one that we've done of the series of 8 of the Copper and Oak.
Isn't there one slightly lighter?
No, Fettercairn is the lightest.
Oh yeah.
Does anybody get toffee on the nose of that?
Yeah. I said butterscotch.
Lots of toffee.
Butterscotch, yeah.
Have folks had much Fettercairn whiskey before, or is anyone new to Fettercairn?
I've had quite a bit.
I love this one, to be honest. A lot of Fettercairn's dominated by those sort of lighter fruits, whereas this just has so much more going on, so much more body. Those oils, that toasted hazelnut finish, for me. I really like this one.
Quite a bit of spice on the front of your tongue.
Fettercairn's a bit weird in terms of the industry because they spent so long just not promoting it at all. It's really only come to any recognition in the last 4 or 5 years, but they're doing really well with it. I don't know if you guys know their current ambassador for the UK, Andrew Lenny. No. Oh well, good guy. Also mainly Fife-based, actually, as it turns out. But his first gig was actually working for Lindors, which is how I met him, and then got more in Fettercairn through him when he moved on to Fettercairn. I also worked with the Lindors Abbey Sensory Panel for a little bit, just as I was starting my plans and my official whiskey education, as opposed to my drinking and ambassador-led education. I can tell you which was more fun.
More fun.
Not the chemistry, put it that way.
So this particular whiskey, so the stats on this one, so it's a single malt as opposed to a grain, obviously. And this is also from the Copper and Oak series, so we've only bottled half of the cask, and there were 151 bottles available of this one. It's 11 years old and cask strength as well, 59.5%. So it's another big, strong one. And I think a lot of the feedback we've... What was that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, what was its age?
It was 11 years old, this one.
Are you liking this, Ross?
I'm going to be honest. No, the nose was amazing, and I was prepared for something quite sweet and quite, and it's not that. It's punchy and it tastes quite young to me, oddly. I was surprised it was 11.
Oh, someone's had a warm-up drams already. That's good, brave. I like it.
In that case, Neil, how does this compare?
It tastes, for all of just the 2 years in difference, it does taste a lot younger than that 13-year-old. Probably the 13-year-old is really well balanced and really well rounded, and this is, I think, it's still a really nice whiskey, but it's got that bit punch and that bit spice. I quite like that, but yeah, I know probably not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, I think that's
totally
the
agree with that.
Fettercairn has, certainly for their core releases, tried to emphasize those lighter, more rounded notes. Whereas I quite like how this has a bit more going on. That savory note, that slight caramelization on the mid palate, that strong toasted hazel finish, which I don't think you often see. I enjoy that stuff. Not everyone does.
This is yummy. Really, really nice.
We've had a lot of good feedback from bottle shops on this one. Sorry, what were you saying, Brian?
I say get marzipan on this rather than hazelnuts, but it's like a
fair
sort of almondy, sugary note.
Aye.
Lovely.
One of the main notes we've had from especially some of the bottle shops who have been stocking us is they've been quite interested in this one, just because I think some of the bottles that we've brought out are a little less. It was not little known to us, but we didn't exactly plan it. Aidan, I know Aidan went on these first range of casks. You kind of bought distilleries that you liked, but I don't think that many independent bottlers have done Fettercairns. You get a lot of the same old things. You get a lot of the same old things going round. So a lot of the bottle shops have been quite keen that we've actually done it. And a lot of the feedback that we've had at festivals, that I've had at the festivals I've done weirdly, is that a lot of people don't actually like Fettercairn's own releases, but they much prefer. They think it's got really good spirit. Like they make really good spirit, but their own stuff that they put out, a lot of people have said that it's not been their favourite. But
well, what's interesting?
They much prefer getting indie bottles.
Yeah, what's interesting for me on the Fettercairn question is I think they're still suffering from, I think, around what was it? Around 2014-ish to 2017. They brought out a range they really didn't give a shit about, called Fior and a couple of others, that were mainly relatively bland, not particularly interesting Fettercairn, for various reasons. And then obviously they tried to rehabilitate the brand more recently. And some of the new releases, in my view, have been really good. The Warehouse series are certainly quite interesting. But I think it's still suffering from its previous unloved reputation and unloved releases. So I'm not surprised it's still suffering from that. But
I suspect that this might be a room splitter, because I have to say I'm not hugely taken with this one either. But I can see why there is an attraction to it, because I quite like spiky drams. I quite like, and there is a lot going on this one. But the nose kind of, I think, a bit like Ross was saying, you know, it kind of didn't deliver what I was expecting from it, which is often a good thing. But I think in this instance, it didn't do it for me. But I suspect this might be a bit of a room splitter. So I don't know if anybody else wants to dive in and give their view on it. Who really is loving this one? Actually, we'll start there. Who's really enjoying this one? So Brian, you are. Who else would like to jump in? Chris, come on, give us your view. Come on then, Chris. You're loving it.
I've just given my view in the group chat there. I've seen me 12-year-old bottle from here, which is, it says floral and exotic and should taste of white flowers and something else. And it's none of those. I think it smells a lot sweeter, but then when you taste it, it's very spiky, very spicy.
Yeah.
But
I like that we've still got a little bit of those fruits.
Yes, it's still, there's still a little bit sweetness, but
just enough for the character.
I think because of the ABV, I think it's more. I think if it was slightly watered down, for people who don't like it.
Remember Tadwater?
I think
yes, that's a good point, Neil.
I think if people do water it down and don't like it, they might like it a bit better.
Yeah, fair enough. Because I maybe that's what I need to do as well. Add a little bit of water. I'm just curious, Dave, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, for me, it needs water for my taste. It's a really full whiskey, mate. It's really nice. It's just the I just need that extra water in there just to soften it a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the beauties of single cask. You can do that.
Yeah.
I found it very harsh, actually, I have to say, the aftertaste to it, even with a drop of water in it. So I preferred the grain one to this one. So I'm very interested in tasting the other four.
Yeah. We love room splitters, don't we? I mean, stuff like this is great because obviously it does illustrate quite clearly how much it does come down to personal taste.
Yeah, definitely.
So shall we do the old thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down on this, unless anybody wants to add their 2 pence before we all vote? Anybody? No? Let's go for it then. So yeah. Okay. So nobody's. Oh, Ross has got their thumb down. Lee, all right, okay. So you're.
Fair enough.
Lee, are you more up? Like, you look like you were kind of that way a little bit.
I think where I'm struggling on it is that I love the nose so much. I just put this in the chat there that it's actually almost hard for it to live up on the palate. Like it was really nice. It was just not quite as nice as I was expecting it based on the nose. But actually, I think like had I not been sitting there nosing it and I just drank it, I would be perfectly happy with it. It is like a really nice dram.
Yeah, maybe I think I'd probably fall into a similar sort of category, maybe.
Can I just say, I'm actually the opposite way round. When I first noticed, it reminded me of a Croft and Gier I once had, God knows how long ago. I got a lot of blue cheese and a kind of wet dog, sweaty, you know, it really wasn't very nice at all. I didn't like it. Then I tried it and all of the kind of floral stuff, I mean, it's beautiful. And then I went back to the nose again and it's changed. Although I've had it in the glass now since, well, for over half an hour. I really like this. I went the absolute opposite way to you, Lee. It's strange that just how those things work, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's interesting because the nose can give us so many expectations, but they aren't always right.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we have our room splitter. Yeah. I'm having.
Oh, we have a room splitter, and we haven't even got to the next one yet. My God, you'll be in for a shock.
Well, the next one's not.
I don't necessarily think we're going to have that many room. We don't tend to have that many total room splitters because when we start going down the line, we tend to get into nicer stuff. I know that sounds, you know, like it's all. Whenever you're trying to do a lineup, you always tend to kind of start with stuff that's, if you like, the cheaper end, or you know, like the ones that are kind of lower ABV, and then build up to your final finale. But it's often that's when your palate's shot. But I think in this one we're definitely building up to some corkers, in my humble opinion.
Okay. I'm glad you're of that opinion.
I'll be completely honest with you. When we made up the order, that wasn't our intention. We were just trying to go through thematically.
Yeah, and we have tried to pick whiskies that are completely contrasting of the ones we've released. You know, to give you a kind of now for something completely different almost every time, to be honest.
Monty Python all the way.
Pretty much, yeah.
The next one is the Kiss or the Cross. They're modelled, even though you can't actually tell what. There you can.
Oh, very nice.
Look at that artwork. I mean, you know.
Two kisses actually.
Perfect artwork there.
Oh, this is cough medicine.
Oh, I think it's formed bananas.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Cherry menthol.
Formed bananas, 100%. A little bit in the
Okay. So
this one is completely different. It does not taste like what I was going to say. It doesn't taste like any Scotch whiskey I've ever had, and that's because it isn't.
Yeah, there are good reasons for that.
Oh, is this the cloudberry?
Yes.
Yes. So this is Swedish. How many? Have many people had Mackmyra before, or any Swedish whiskey?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's one of the more well-known
So
ones.
much fun though. So we already loved some of their stuff, and you know, we knew some of their ambassadors, so we were like, you know what, let's see what they've got and see if we can get some nice cards. We got the list and we saw, frankly, a bunch of crazy shit.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to any whiskey fan, right?
We're on the kiss symbols, by the way. I'm not sure who said that. Sorry, the crosses.
So yeah, Film Banana is so up there in Mackmyra generally. Sorry, I'm seeing that note from Neil below. So of the crazy shit we were offered, obviously there were your normal offerings, your peat, your sherry, your bourbon, yeah, whatever. Are they very good for Mackmyra? Yes. Are they as interesting? No. Unless we also. So what this isn't green tea. We do have a green tea barrel for future release. We also saw cloudberry wine and mulled wine, and we thought, well, that's interesting. So we asked for samples, and we got samples, and we were very happy. So we bought them. Now this was just we were getting ready back in August last year, and we hadn't entirely decided what we were going to do with them. Then I think it was late September, early October. He and I were just talking. We were looking at this, and we were like, you know what? We've got time to do a festive release. And when we'd been tasting these barrels a little bit earlier, well, they just screamed out those Christmassy notes.
Especially as the other one was mulled wine.
Yes.
Very Christmassy.
So that's why. Have you got a bottle there, Ian?
Yes, I do have a bottle. It's completely empty, this one, actually, because I pretty much emptied it when I was doing festive samples, but you can see it is more festive-y, this bottle. So this was...
Including a hatted beastie on the front?
Yes, there is a beastie with a hat on it.
Good for Christmas hats.
So
we like to be a bit playful.
We can explain the beastie in a wee sec. I'll just give you the lowdown on this the precise makeup of this whiskey. So, which is a little bit complicated. So it's 8 years old. It is cask strength as well, but it's not that strong. It's 48.5%, and it's come down for a variety of reasons that are vaguely clear and vaguely unclear to us as well. But this whiskey, basically, obviously. It's had a cloudberry wine finish. I had never heard of a cloudberry before until we got this, so obviously I looked them up. I don't know if has anyone else ever heard of a cloudberry? I gather you can buy cloudberry wine from IKEA.
From IKEA? I'll need to buy some.
You can.
Has anyone actually bought it?
Kind of like brambles or blackberries, but a bit more yellow. So the story with what they do is obviously cloudberry doesn't normally go in a cask. So because it's not Scotch, and basically they can do whatever the hell they want with it because they haven't got the Scotch Whisky Association kind of rigid rules. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, Aidan. So it spent about 6 years in a bourbon this one. It spent 6 years in a third fill barrel, and then basically, so they empty out the whiskey and then fill the barrel with cloudberry wine, and then they season it for, is it about six months or something like that, Aidan?
So we asked about the process, and in our dealings with Mackmyra directly, they're lovely people, but they're horribly disorganized.
Yeah, they're a bit disorganized and vague.
Haven't a clue what's going on.
But from what we understand, basically, the whiskey's emptied out after 6 years. Cloudberry wine is put in for about 6 months.
No, two things are going on here. The joys of whiskey process. In terms of the spirit you're actually drinking, what they've done is they've distilled it and then put it into a fairly inactive third fill barrel, for storage before they decided what to do. For, again, about 6 years. Now, what they've done in terms of the finishing cask for the cloudberry, I think they used a third fill barrel, a separate third fill barrel, which they then seasoned with the mulled wine. Seasoning, cloudberry wine. I don't know if you know, but the thing with whiskey is to get a fresh barrel that's been used for what you want is usually quite expensive. But to get any old wood that you feel like and then pour whatever type of finish you want into it and leave it for a while so it soaks into the wood is quite cheap and effective. This is what we call seasoning a barrel. Personally, it's not a practice I particularly like, but it's what a lot of people do. So what they've done is they've taken a barrel they want to use for finishing. In this case, so that they get more of the cloud wine effect. Cloudberry wine effect and less of the barrel effect. They've seasoned a fairly inactive barrel to get ready. They're finishing. Now, what I could get from the company is when they're seasoning barrels either with cloudberry or mulled, they season it for anywhere between 6 months and 2 years. Unfortunately, we could not get clarity on how long it was in this case. I have not tried this in an old-fashioned, but I should. Good point, Joe.
That would work well on an old-fashioned, actually, you're
right. After they've stored the normal spirit in an inactive barrel, they've then taken the finishing barrel, poured it into it to finish, and left it for the finishing period as indicated. So that's what we have here. So it's a wee bit of a complex process.
It is, and this whole time it is actually done underground because this has lived in their Bodas mine distillery, which is a kind of weird, sorry, their Bodas mine warehouse, I should say. Yes, the Bodas mine warehouse, where they do all kinds of weird stuff, Mackmyra, for their maturations. This was matured in very, very cold temperatures underground.
They also have a barge on the Seine, for example.
Yes, they do a lot of weird stuff. So it's really funky, and I, to be honest, think it tastes more like, I really like it, but I do think it reminds me of some sort of Germanic / Polish herbal liqueur type thing. I don't know what everyone else was getting.
Definitely that liqueurish kind of feel to
It's cherry menthol sweet.
Cherry menthol sweets, yeah, I can get some of that as well, yeah.
I understand that.
All I'm getting is like cherry menthol sweet. It's amazing. Tastes a bit more like a whiskey liqueur than an actual whiskey.
Yeah, it definitely
yeah. I totally get that. I totally feel like that. It tastes like that as well.
Joe, are you liking it?
Yeah, in a funky kind of way.
Aging strength.
It's 8 years old and 48.5%.
Anybody not enjoying it? Anybody want to stick their head above the pulpit and?
Which I would totally get because it's completely mental. This one.
So the thing with it is.
Yeah, that would explain why the depth of it.
That's another of their warehouses because.
Yeah, the on-site
one. Mackmyra have about 8 warehouses.
Yeah, I visited Mackmyra about
nice
7 years ago. Angela took me around.
I want to get to the Nordics. Mackmyra is on my very long Nordic list.
Yeah, it's very funky with being the gravity-fed. It's like a tower block in the middle of a Swedish forest. It's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen.
It looks mad from the photographs, yeah.
Yeah,
really
amazing.
Cool idea though.
Not, but very, very strange.
Is this a single cask then?
Well,
effectively, yes.
Technically, it's a finish, but yes.
Yeah. But we obviously so for this one, this was our Christmas release. So this was our Fib festivities, which is still on the website. We're not prioritizing it at the moment because it did actually sell a lot over Christmas, but we've now put it kind of to the bottom because it's not Christmas anymore. But yeah, we didn't, because it's not our copper and oak range, we did not only bottle half of it. It is 190 bottles, and that's all we've got of it.
In terms of the ABV as well, what you've got to remember, of course, is the colder the environment, the greater the rate of water evaporation to alcohol evaporation. You're going to have more alcohol evaporate in a colder climate than water, which is part of the reason it's gone down so much.
And also all the kind of messing around with the casks.
Yeah, you're going to lose some every time you transfer stuff around.
Mackmyra bottle everything at, is it 46.2 or?
Give or take, yeah.
All of their official bottlings are that sort of ABV.
Although I think some of the moments are at 50.
Yeah, but they're sort of general releases are a sort of an odd 46.2 or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly, we did meet them at a stall recently. They were doing one of the same festivals we did in Edinburgh, the National Whisky Festival, and it was an interesting comparison because I can't remember what release it was. I don't know if it was one they just brought out or if it was. I think it was one they just brought out. I can't remember what it was called, but they were advertising it as their breakfast whiskey, and it was made up of part cloudberry. So it was quite interesting to try them side by side and kind of try and you could actually see the cloudberry making it up a wee bit, just not quite as cherry menthol.
Any other notes and comments on this?
Yeah.
Any other feedback on this one, or I'm actually quite surprised that this. Now that I've tried it, because when I was decanting it, it smelled amazing, and I just thought, wow, I can't wait to try it. But now that I've tried it, I'm thinking this should be a bit of a crowd splitter again. But actually, this sounds like it's most people's cup of tea. So anybody want to jump in before we do the old thumbs up, thumbs sideways and stuff?
I think this kind of drams exactly why you do tastings, to try to find these weird, funky ones. And I think,
and that's what we look for as bottlers.
Yeah, like we've done obviously like the Galani tastings and everything. You always get the kind of weird ones that you just don't really get anywhere else. So yeah, like I like it, but it's one of them. I think even if you don't like it, it's still good to drink just because it's different and interesting. So yeah,
I think I like it because it's weird.
Yeah,
it is bonkers, isn't it?
Bonkers is good sometimes.
Absolutely.
It's like my medicine.
Hopefully in a good way, Dad.
No, sorry, it's not.
All right. Oh, he's not a fan. All right, okay.
Oh, sorry.
You're allowed to not like it.
Well, that has negative connotations if it's like your medicine, that's for sure.
I want some of your medicine, Dad.
I don't know, some medicine is tasty.
Shall we do the old thumbs up then? Thumbs sideways, thumbs down? What are we looking at here? Well, definitely.
I like this. It's weird, but I like it.
Oh, Chris. All right, okay.
Doesn't even change much with water. I've just added a little bit of water to the dregs of mine.
Not a fan either. Okay, so Chris, not Chris, but you, Chris, you guys, I don't even know your surname. You'll have to forgive us, Chris. You tell us what you thought, because you were definitely.
So it's Chris and Jane, right? And
Chris and Jane.
Jane loves it.
Jane
She
loves
thinks
it,
it's
of course.
great.
Yes. Hi, Jane.
Hiya.
Yeah. So Jane loves it
Jane.
and thinks it's great. I'm not so keen because I mean it's all right. It's perfectly drinkable, but it's I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's too quirky, I think, for a whiskey. I mean, if we were trying stuff that wasn't whiskey, and you said this is a really cool drink, try this, and we went, oh, that's good. It tastes a bit like whiskey. That's obviously because it is, but it doesn't taste like single malt Scotch. So.
It doesn't taste like single malt Scotch. That is for sure.
Because it is not.
No, it is completely different. That's what that is.
It is single malt Swedish.
Yeah, I do. Well, normally you see, I like Mackmyra. I've tried quite a lot of Mackmyras, and it doesn't taste like any of them either. So
it's more funky than I think they have put out. I think it was a mulled wine they put out a couple of years ago as the festive. But yeah, no, it's mega funky. I totally get that.
They have done a predominantly cloudberry once, but I cannot for life of me remember what they called it.
So Chris and Jane, Are you pleased that you've tried it though?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Delighted. It's really cool. It's just not, it's just not what we normally try. And do you know what? Like I think Joe said it was like a whiskey liqueur, and I would totally agree with that. If you bought it as a whiskey liqueur, it'd be great. But if you bought it as a whiskey liqueur, it probably wouldn't be 85.
Yeah, for cocktails. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of whiskey cocktails, but I think anybody who is would find that really incredible for making in with cocktails.
That's right.
I think it is one of those, it's really lovely to try it, but we as consumers, you've got a lot of choice out there and how you want to spend on an actual whole bottle. And this wouldn't necessarily be one of those that I would want to buy a whole bottle of, but I understand that I got a chance to buy it. To try it.
It's definitely not a bottle I'd want to drink all to myself, but it's definitely a bottle I'd reach for if I had a friend coming over. Have a try of this. Yeah, you're right there, actually. From a tasting perspective, it's one of those that is going to be wonderful to roll out, isn't it? And actually say,
and that's one of the beautiful things of whiskey.
Yeah, you think you know whiskey, and this is going to shoot your preconceptions right down.
I'd buy a bottle of this for my whiskey club. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you still can.
Yeah. Well,
I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Well, and there is the discount code as well, which we'll get if you can. Actually, Ian or Aidan, if you put it in.
So I'm on my phone, so I should take it. I have to.
To make sure that people use the right code and spell it right.
Well, just give me in a second. It'll put it in.
Sorry, I'm using my phone.
So while he's doing that, the next one is the heart.
Ooh.
So the next sample bottle is the heart. So you want to start nosing?
I'm intrigued by how you chose your symbols.
Yes. Aidan, may I just ask a question? You said something there which surprised me a little, which is that the colder it is, the more alcohol you lose as opposed to water. Would you mind just explaining that? Because that to me is counterintuitive to what I would expect, but I'm not disputing what you're saying.
If you look at evaporation points, if it is hotter, water will evaporate rather than alcohol. Well, not rather than, but in preference to alcohol. And therefore, the ABV goes up. If you look at, for example, any Indian single malt, if it's a single cask, you can be well in excess of 60 very easily after only 3 or 4 years. Whereas in Scotland, for example, over the time, the ABV goes down because the water is evaporating more slowly because it's not as hot where the alcohol is still going into the food. So that's why in colder climates and moderate climates, your ABV goes down because a higher ratio of alcohol is evaporating than water. In a warmer climate, a higher ratio of water is evaporating because it's so much hotter, basically. And therefore, basically, in a hot climate, your overall volume in the cask goes down a lot faster because it's mainly your water that's evaporating. But if your volume goes down because of the water, your ABV goes up and up and up. Whereas if the water is evaporating more slowly, your ABV goes down because the ratio is lower. Just annoying chemistry. So
no, I appreciate it. As I said, it's counterintuitive, but now that you've explained it, that makes sense.
To give you some numbers, average angel share in the UK is about 2.5%. Average angel share in some parts of India is as high as 17% per year.
Yeah, I know the Israeli guys. Some of theirs is up to about 20%, isn't it?
Well, let's not talk about the bloody Dead Sea release because that's hilarious. I love Shilton and they do some good whiskey as well at Milk and Honey, but I'm sorry, this is going to be bitching about whiskey company. If you put a cask unprotected on top of a hotel in the baking sun in a metal cage, what you are doing is
Cooking it.
Especially evaporating all of your water.
Cooking it, yes.
Cooking it to create
It's
manufactured
fantastic.
scales.
It's absolutely fantastic whiskey. I bought 2 bottles of it. It's really, really good.
Is it tasty? Yes. Is the price point,
And
in my view, acceptable? No. Because what they've done is they've created false manufacturing scales. Now, their pomegranate wine whiskey, that is a beautiful whiskey. They've not put that on top of a hotel with no protection.
No, but it is very nice.
Yeah.
Like alcoholic cranberry juice, that one.
Yeah. Now, I put it this way, the idea of maturing a whiskey in the Dead Sea climate, I find really interesting. If you do it in proper warehouse conditions.
Nah, but that wouldn't be so experimental, would it?
You get getting bogged down by Scottish rules, though, you know.
No, I'm not. I hate the SWA.
Yeah, but they don't have to do that outside of Scotland. And in the same way that Mackmyra, mature their whiskey mines underground, and we've all just said,
that's still a warehousing conditions.
Well,
putting something unprotected in metal cage onto the hotel. It's literally saying, how can we make this as empty as possible?
Well,
now don't get me wrong.
They might have done that, but then again, they might have just not thought it through when they did it.
Possibly, yeah, that's probably more like it.
And then,
in that case, they don't deserve to be distillers.
You never know. You never know.
I have a lot of time for a lot of their releases. I think that particular one is a gimmick to increase the price. And while it's really nice whiskey, I don't agree with taking advantage of consumers like that. Which, in my view, is what they're doing by purposely manufacturing scarcity as opposed to flavor.
Well, I think they might have just I think they might have just buggered up and thought, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, I agree with you.
but you might be right, Aidan. Each to their own. So right, do you want to go into the? Should we give you a wee bit of background on this next one? Has everyone got their dram?
Yeah.
We're on the Love Heart now.
Yeah, Love Heart.
We're on the Love Heart. So this is going back to the.
I have to say, Love Hearts is interesting for this one because it does smell quite sweet.
Oh, so okay. Does it smell like the?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, I drew a bum on Chris's sample. So, what does that say about his dram?
Well, what I think that says, I think that probably says more about him than anything.
It might be worth saying as well. It might be worth saying before we start this one as well. I don't know if you want to or not, but it might be worth getting. I don't know if you're all using separate glasses anyway. You may well be, but it might be worth saving a little bit of this one for when you taste the next one as well, so you can compare them side by side.
I think that would be very wise.
Is the next one peated?
No, the last one is peated.
The next one's Carl's blood sample.
Oh, I see. But the last one.
The last one is peated. Yes, we have got a peated one.
I thought it was from the nose. I noticed that as I poured it into the glasses and thought.
Yes.
Good glass, by the way. I do like the 1770. Good glass.
Oh, I've got all sorts of things. I should have had this in the previous one because look, there's my milk and honey glass.
Oh yes, during that conversation.
What else have I got?
These couldn't be more different on the nose.
They absolutely couldn't be. So this first one is from so that's the Copper and Oak release. So this is is the Copper and Oak. The next one is the permutation. So half of the barrel is as we got it. This first one, and the second half is with our finish. So this one is a bourbon barrel as well. It is 13 years old and it's from Royal Brackla distillery. It's wasn't a particularly full cask, so there were only about 150 bottles in the whole cask. There'd been quite a lot of leakage / a bit of a leaky cask or evaporation. So there, in the Copper and Oak, we've only got 78 bottles, and we'll have a similar amount for the finishing one as well. And this one is this original Brackla that you're trying now is the strongest one that we've done. It's 61.9% volume.
So try not to die and add water if you need to.
Yes, and it's in the Highlands. This one, it's right on the Speyside border, but it is indeed a Highland distillery. And here's the bottle here for you.
What was the age, please?
It was the age was 13 years old for this one.
The finish takes up to 14, I think.
And the finished one has crossed the line. Yes, the finished one is 14 years old, technically. So
that's that one.
I don't know. Yes, that is that one. I don't know if this is a good time to. This is possibly a good time to. We haven't actually commented on the fact of what the bottle looks like yet.
Yeah, we haven't actually spoken about our branding at all.
No, so the branding. So does anyone hazard a guess as to what Fib is, or what this thing in our logo is? Anyone know?
No.
Unless you've looked at our website, in which case you know everything.
Unless you've looked at the website and shot yourself because there was so much history there that you got bored. But a bit of background, and Aidan, your late father was basically the go-to guy in Scotland on the Picts. You know, the Pictish race.
On Pictish stones.
Yes, on Pictish stones. He was
a historian, but
he was pretty much the expert on Pictish stones in Scotland. And this beastie, as we call it, because no one quite knows what it is a carving that comes up on quite a few Pictish stones across Scotland. So that's why we've gone with the Pictish theme for kind of a lot of our branding. And you'll actually see the line writing through the back label. So that says the Fife Whisky Company in Ogham, which is a kind of Pictish line writing. And Fib is actually, people think it kind of stands for Fife Independent Bottlers or something like that, which is just a happy coincidence. Or Fife is best, potentially. But
that's
Fib
your favourite.
Yes, Fib is actually the mythical Pictish king of Fife. And you can read all about that kind of story on our website. The Kingdom of Fife, sorry.
And also,
that was right.
But that's a wee bit of origin myth is High King, Seven Sons, splits his kingdom, and Fib is the one for Fife.
Oh.
So that's our whole brand. I mean, part of the reason we went the beastie, besides it's always a symbol that's appealed to me, is also that it's a bit playful and a bit fun, because if you can show us that again, please, Ian.
This is a cork, yes.
If you look at it, you've got that wee cheeky smile on the bugger.
It does have a cheeky smile.
And what's more, with whiskey in its
great hair too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With whiskey and all its connotations, certainly the sheer amount we don't know given the state of science, it also, to use a symbol no one's quite managed to properly identify, appeals to that cheeky little fact in whiskey that a lot of it's conjecture and a little bit mythical still anyway. So that was part of our thinking.
So who's are you trying and nosing both together to kind of
you can and you probably should.
How's everybody finding these? Because I think there's a big positive move towards one of them over here. I don't know about you guys. What's everybody thinking? What
is the red one the same age, or is there different? Is there a different?
1 year.
It's 14 years old, so it was in the cask for. If you bear with me, so that one was in the finishing cask for 4 months, 1 week, and 4 days, and the strength has come down from 61.9 to 57.1%,
which is quite a lot.
So it just shows you that's about the same for each cask that we've re-racked. It just shows you how much alcohol that you lose just from re-racking it.
Yeah.
Give us some stats again, Ian. 4 months.
Yeah, it was 4 months, 1 week, and 4 days that this has been, and it was so it's basically been in a first fill. So these finishing casks, as Aidan said, it was the ex-manager of Luvian's. Or I don't know if he was the man. Was he the manager, Aidan?
Yeah, Luvian's in St Andrews.
Yes, which is basically the bottle shop slash ice cream shop as well.
About a decade and a half back, they were managed on behalf of Vince by a chap called Andy Cook. He always had a dream to have a winery. After working for Luvian's, he went to New Zealand to train for a while. and then came back to Fife, tried to sell his flat in Cooper. And then the good folks at Louvain's, their boss, decided to invest in him by actually helping him by buying his flat, among other things, so he could go off and do his dream of a winery. Their Tramontane wine, their
right at the south of France,
Ceylon down on the Catalan coast. If you want to look them up, I'm sorry, my camera doesn't seem to be working.
It's quite near Perpignan on the Spanish
you
border.
The bottle from this. But we really liked their wine. And knowing the guy asked him about using his barrels. So this is the Syrah.
It's
he
a
does
Syrah,
in
yeah.
a release called Wild Boar, which you can actually get from some Scottish bottle shops. But we really liked the wine, we wanted to use it. And we're quite happy with the results, I would say.
And we were very lucky as well because yeah, a lot of distilleries, when they're getting things like wine barriques and wine casks in to finish in, a lot of the wineries will sulfur them for preservatives to kind of basically preserve them before they get back, which can kind of alter the flavor quite drastically. So we managed, basically Andy was good enough to give us these six wine 225 litre wine casks for free. We just had to pay for the, sorry? Barriques.
The cask size is a barrique. Yeah.
A barrique, yes, 225 litres. He was kind enough to give us 6 of them for free. It was just my job to kind of get them back here, which turned out to be, in a post-Brexit world, slightly complicated. But we got them here.
We say free. His price is a bottle.
Yes, he wants a bottle of his own wine whiskey as well, so that's true. But yeah, so what my point was anyway.
We're happy with that.
My point was they're very natural, and I think this is what's added to the massive finish on them, because they turned that colour after about a month and a half in the cask, because nothing's been done to them. The wine was only emptied out about 6 weeks before the whiskey went in, so very fresh basically. So it's a bit of a berry blast.
Well,
No, it smells like red wine. Yeah.
One thing I would say about that cask as well is I'm wondering how wet the cask was when you put the spirit into it, because that's had a massive impact in such a short period of time. And I'm just wondering whether you actually had checked to see how much of the original, you know, the seasoning liquid was left in that cask, because it seems enormous.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
we are told by.
Yeah.
I was literally starting to say what Ian was saying.
Yeah, go for it, Aidan.
We are told by our bottling and cask guides in Auchmuchty that they did empty out the little dregs.
They're always dry fill apparently, so they basically
I don't think there was that much.
them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. It's not a wet fill, so they do actually empty out the casks. Although because we're Scottish and tight and we don't like wasting anything, we always
like to take a bottle to it.
We always like collecting whatever comes out the casks for later.
Can you blame us?
No, and to be fair, actually, I've got. I'll show you something.
Yeah.
Bear with me 1 second.
I was about to ask that. What Ian's about to show you is from one of our other barrels. I was mentioning the Expediga barrels that had held PX and then Spanish brandy. Ian's about to show you what we got out of that.
So this is what came out at the bottom of the barrel of the brandy.
Ian,
wow.
That bottle was full last I saw it.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I have not drunk all of it. It's mainly been at Christmas we had some, and whenever there's been an occasion with folks around, it's always been a try this situation. Yeah. So yeah.
My bottle is still relatively full. Yeah.
I know it does look that. It's
really
quite
fun.
incredible. It's quite incredible stuff.
Oh, brilliant. I guess.
Well, that's not the barrel you're tasting tonight, I'm afraid.
No, that's not the barrel you're tasting tonight. Sorry.
I'm really curious to see what the sort of split is between who preferred the first of the Royal Bracklas, the one that is like unfinished in the red wine, and who preferred the red wine.
Now, I will just say this about the red wine. Ian and I have a sample from October. Which
Yeah,
is
you've had it
when
more red wine than
we
us.
took it out of wood. It took them 6 weeks to get that out of wood. When we drew the bottles for this tasting, we were complete idiots and forgot to request sample process.
I know, yeah. Well, I should have kept the stuff. I should have kept some of the stuff before I sent it to Carl. But,
So what you guys are trying, we haven't actually tried that. Right now, I have a sample I'm drinking from 6 weeks before that. So, yeah, you guys are trying something we've not tried.
So yeah, we would love to hear your thoughts on both of them, because yeah, they are completely different. But that's what we like about this series that we're going to do, because it is literally the same single cask of whiskey.
Yeah, Bill, I just muted you because we could hear your TV. Bill, what was your view on this? You'll need to unmute yourself though. Bill?
Sure, we can't tell you that. But I appreciate you asking.
Apparently we can't tell you that, but we've got more.
Okay.
We've got a...
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you guys go on.
No, I was just going to ask Bill. I had to mute you because we could hear your TV. But if you unmute yourself, what did you think of the two Royal Bracklas?
You're still muted, Bill.
You're still muted, Bill.
Fair enough.
Mute.
That's what you're going to do.
Am I back on?
Yeah. Sorry, Bill. I had to mute you because we could hear your TV.
No, this one does nothing for me at all.
Which one? The first one or both?
I think this one has spoiled both a whiskey cask and a wine. it just, I like my expensive wines and I like my expensive whiskies, as you know. And the last Royal Brackla I had, I think, was about a 38-year-old Cadenhead or Cadenhead.
Yeah.
Wow.
This one just doesn't do a lot for me at all. It's just too. It's just too thin.
Is that so? Have you tried the red wine finished one yet, or are you still on the?
That's what he's talking about in his hand.
All right.
That's horrible.
I'm talking about the red wine one. It's
Yeah.
just too thin for me. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm not a great Royal Brackla fan, to be fair, but at the same time.
Bill, I wish you wouldn't just sit on the fence. I wish you'd just tell us how you really feel.
It's funny, Royal Brackla. It's funny, Royal Brackla, because we've had it's one of those. Yeah, it's not the most mainstream distillery that people will kind of gravitate towards, but weirdly, one of the shops that stocks us in Edinburgh is a fantastic little shop just outside Edinburgh, Waverley Station. If you come up the Market Street entrance, there's one called Jeffrey Street, Whiskey and Tobacco. And the Royal Brackla was the one that they were, after they tried all 8 samples, they were raving about it. They said it was the best Royal Brackla they'd had in 2 or 3 years. So it's this is whiskey, isn't it? Whiskey, isn't it, for you? The contrast in everyone's palate.
I just think, for me, it doesn't go well with a red wine. Simple as that.
Fair enough. What did you think of the unfinished?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Bill, what did you think about unfinished?
Yeah. What did you think of the first incarnation as it was?
Well, that was fine. I mean, I an enjoyable whiskey. I wouldn't go mad over it, but I think it was nice.
To be
It
fair,
was the sort of thing I could drink quite happily. But I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's my palate. I mean, it's a long time ago. I started off with a Speyburn 18. That's ages ago, so I'm well past that. Just as an introductory one.
So David is the one that's the blank sample bottle. And Bill, I was going to say that I actually, when I tried the unfinished Royal Brackla, I wasn't a huge fan of that initially, and I went to the red wine one and I thought, that's bloody lovely. I love the red wine one, and I've gone back to the unfinished Royal Brackla, and actually it's
now you're getting more from it.
Well, no, I'm getting a fair bit more from the unfinished Royal Brackla now that I've gone back to it. So I'm wondering whether well, maybe I'm just shocked now.
It's a pretty shocking whiskey. I mean, as in like I've never had a whiskey like the red wine finish. I've never had one quite
Well,
like
I'll
that
say
before.
this. Personally, I'm a big fan of wine finishes. Whiskey. It doesn't do it for everyone, but for me, that slightly drying, that slightly spicy red berry. In whiskey, I'm a wine whore. I'll freely admit. It's not for everyone, and that's fine. But personally, it's a style I really enjoy. So, when we got samples of the red wine, and I appreciate, Joe, you're not enjoying it.
No. How can you tell?
Oh, no.
Toad.
It smells like red wine vinegar and it tastes like it too. I'm sorry, but
Oh.
I did think it had a very slightly, like on the nose, a very slight vinegary smell, but it was only slight, but I didn't get it on the palate, Joe.
no, it's not for me, Lorraine, this one. Nope.
Just someone else sitting on the fence.
When Caroline first, Lorraine, when Caroline first smelt this,
I'm all up for like hedging my bets, but no.
I like these room splitters.
Yeah, I like them too. It was weird. When I was in I've just come back from, well, not I've just come back, but I was in New Zealand at the end of last year, and we went and did a kind of quite niche wine tasting, and it was a kind of lot of red wines I had never heard of, and a lot of it was like single grape stuff, and a lot of the red wines that I was trying were reminding me a lot more. They were in the kind of Bordeaux style, and a lot of it was single grape from Australia, and it was reminding me of the red wine finishes that we've done. Like the wines were a lot more kind of viscous and acidic than ones I'd had back home. So I reckon the casks are a bit like that.
Dave, you were going to say something there?
I think it was
Dive in.
Caroline.
do you know what, Lorraine? What you were saying about the vinegar? As soon as Caroline first smelt this, she said that it smelled like Saltman and Chris, didn't it?
Yeah.
Saltman and Chris. As soon as she, honest to God, that's what she said. So you saying that, I thought I'd pipe up to say that Caroline got the same.
Yeah.
In terms of the finishing project, what's really fascinating about hearing this from all of you is the change you all see between the two casks.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's quite a big change.
Enormous.
Enormous.
I think that's part of the fun of what we're trying to do.
I mean, the
let
red
people
wines
taste the difference in maturation.
For sure, the red wines are more extreme.
Even if you hate it, like Joe.
Yeah. To give you an idea of the rundown, I'll quickly tell you. I'll quickly tell you the.
I'm not picking on you. I'm giving you credit.
I'll quickly tell you the casks that we use before we move on to one that we haven't got a finished a finishing buddy with for you to taste. But so that Royal Brackla, that was obviously the red wine Syrah. The other red wine Syrah cask we've used to finish the Ardmore whiskey that we have. The Port Dundas, the first one you tried. Now we've got some very interesting River Salts Ombre casks. Has anyone any wine geeks? Anyone had Ombre wine before?
Not Ombre, but River Salts.
Yeah, River Salts before.
The only River Salt we've had is the Brookladdy.
Yeah,
right.
Get me. Yes.
So it's a similar idea.
Similar idea. Quite.
It's maybe slightly closer to a roast than some River Salts, but that's the idea with the wine.
So yeah, we've got two of those barrels that barriques that we've used for our Port Dundas and Auchentoshan, and then we had two Roussanne white wine casks that we used for our Altavenne and our Fettercairn that you tried.
I think they are my favourite finishes, actually.
The white wine finish is lovely. Actually.
Having recently rewritten the labels.
Ian, have you got any peated that are in a
Yeah, the last one we're about to come to is peated.
Well, no, in red wine.
In red
wine.
wine.
Red wine. No, not in red wine.
Yes, we do the Ardmore.
The only reason I ask is because I've got
Ardmore.
Sorry, yes, the Ardmore.
The only reason I ask is because I've got a peated sitting in a red wine cask at the moment, and I'm just.
Oh, really?
What it tastes like.
What I'll tell you, Chris, is I've had quite a few red wine peated whiskies. I've adored all of them, so I think you've made a good decision.
I would definitely agree with you. The Ardmore.
And in my view, sorry, Ian was probably about to say the same thing.
Yeah, probably about to say the same thing.
our Ardmore is unfortunately the emptiest of the casks we bought. But the red wine finish on the Ardmore, when we tasted it back in October, one of the most sublime whiskies we felt we'd ever tasted.
Basically, for
But
the
again,
Ardmore,
if you don't like a red wine finish, you'll probably hate it.
yeah, we loved the Ardmore red wine finish more than we loved our original Ardmore. And for the Brackla, I probably preferred the original to the finish. So it just shows you.
Okay.
Not overly keen on the original Brackla, but there you go.
Oh, well,
That's okay.
Carl, is it time for our obligatory thumbs?
Oh yes, I think we're going to have to.
Give an opinion first.
Oh, go on.
Go on. I really like both of these, to be honest. The Brackla by itself was nice. It was a typical orchard fruit, bit of spice on there. Ordinary drinking type whiskey, fair enough. It's good. The red wine, I've never seen a whiskey that colour before, and I quite like red wine. I don't know if anybody's tried the latest Loch Lomond Golf release from last year. It was about 40.
Not yet, but I would love to. It looks good.
That was fantastic. I've gone through a case of it. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. But it's nowhere near this colour. This is Ribena colour. This is really strange. But I'm guessing you're saying you maybe put 54 litres of this into a 225 litre cask?
Give or take.
Correct.
Yeah,
hence why it's an extremely aggressive maturation, because there's so little liquid
I
in
get
it.
why the ABV's gone down a lot, but I really like this. I think this is
We've
great.
never seen such a
no.
I've never seen a
finish
whiskey
as
colour.
these.
No, never seen a whiskey this colour.
Well,
I've
Brian,
never seen one take on such
when-
colour after just 4 months.
absolutely. But Brian, when the Ardmore comes out, it's even redder.
Wow. I'm a big Ardmore fan, actually.
I think you'll enjoy it a lot then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't just say that because I hope you buy a bottle. We think it's great.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that we are going to explore as well with these ones is we're going to, as well as just being able to buy the bottles. At the moment, we're in the process of sorting out some tasting sets. So basically, you can try before and afters of all like 50 ml drams. So you've got a sharer or something like that, so that you can see what you like.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just thinking of it. I was like, if it's because we're a brand new company, I wouldn't necessarily jump onto a brand new whiskey company's website and buy a bottle of whiskey that costs a lot of money, and because I have no clue what it's going to be like. So
Thank you, Stuart, for that comment, by the way. That's what I'm aiming for.
So come the start of March, when we bring out the finishing series, we're going to bring out tasting sets for the Copper and Oak and the finish and the Permutations finishing series. So you can try the before and after, and it doesn't cost you a bomb as well. And you can actually see what you like.
And what we want to be as a company known for really is caring about our spirit, but pushing the boat out of letting people who care about whiskey try that difference. We really want to focus on that as our thing. I'm glad people are appreciating that idea.
I'm sorry, Carl, but not to leave on a bum note, but my dog is passing wind here. And I can't actually get much flavour out of the whiskey.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Bill.
So I'm going to have to leave now and take
You shouldn't have given your dog the whiskey.
No, she doesn't drink whiskey.
I mean, my dog's got whiskey, but
well, Bill.
Anyway, it's been a lovely evening.
Thank you.
I must go because she has to go outside.
Well, Bill, when you try the sandwich, enjoy it.
Good night.
Yeah, lovely to meet you,
very
Bill.
much. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your
Bill.
ball notes.
Poor amazing.
Oh.
Well, on that note, would anybody else like to jump in on what they thought of those two so far before we do the old thumbs up and thumbs down on the first one? Everybody okay? Any other comments?
Strength and ABV, Peter's asking.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's just interesting, sort of, again, talking sort of with the cloudberry and things as well. If you were, I think if you drink a lot of whiskey, I get what people are saying about the red wine finish. It's maybe it's not as close to whiskey as you would like if you're a whiskey drinker, but if you've got friends over who kind of like it whiskey, but they don't really know a lot about it. Having something like the cloudberry, having the red wine finish, and having it's great to kind of show them the different things and the different profiles whiskey can do. And it's not necessarily a bottle I'd buy personally if I was going to sit and drink it in the house, but you know, it's just great to come to these tastings and have something completely different.
Well, we hope you'll be able to try the Ardmore as well at some point.
Well, I think you guys were interested in coming to the festival, weren't you?
We'd love to be there.
Yeah. So
if I can't get there myself, Ian will definitely be there.
I'll be there for sure. I've already got it in my calendar.
I hope to be there as well.
Carl.
Well, and
just takes a wee bit more planning.
Yeah, I was going to say, but Aidan, the venue is all on one level, and you know, so
you mentioned it sounds an awesome event, and
I think it's
love to be there. I just need to plan to get.
Yeah. No, we'll
I will be working on the next month.
Yeah,
but Fib will absolutely happily have a stand.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be there, and we'll bring our before and afters for all of them, so you can all come compare and contrast. And the advert was great, by the way.
It was a brilliant event last year. I mean, I live down here in deepest, darkest Gloucestershire, and I'm glad I travelled up for it last year.
Oh, brilliant!
Thank you very much, Joe. That's much appreciated. But Grant,
so there is. So you do have to pay to go through the Tyne Tunnel.
I've never been through the Tyne Tunnel. I used to work in the northeast as well, but I never had a reason to go through the tunnel.
Ian,
apparently you have to pay.
Both ways.
You've queued for like 4 hours to get through Newcastle.
What I didn't mention.
Joe, send us a message, and I'll stick it on the tunnel pass.
So what I didn't mention is
bloody Great North Run people. Who runs?
Oh God, yeah, you mentioned that, Carl, didn't you?
No one wise.
Idiots run.
I'm
not bitter at all.
Honestly, Joe, Ian occasionally runs, and occasionally, after we've had a sample night, plans to run in the morning. He never runs in the morning.
I'll have you know, I went for a run the last time I visited you in the morning, as you were soundly asleep.
Yeah, I was the sensible one.
Yes.
Carl, just as a totally random thought for the festival.
Go ahead.
If anybody's bringing in a van next year, the clean climate charge will apply if you're driving through Newcastle city centre. So if you've got any exhibitors who are driving a van through the city centre, it might be worth warning them, because otherwise they'll get fined as well.
Yeah, no,
yes, that's true.
Never thought of that.
Not very friendly in Newcastle, are they?
Oh no, you are. You're very friendly.
No, let's face it.
We try to be.
It's inconvenient, but it's important. Let's face it, the environment's fucked.
Carl, just on your Indie Fest, where did you? I've not seen where it is.
So it's at Anarchy Brew Tap Room. So it's a brewery. It's got a very similar kind of feel and size to the Tyne Bank Brewery, but it is Anarchy Brewery, and yeah, I mean, I was just blown away by how much. The venue is really keen to have us there, which is obviously good. But it's all on one level. It's slightly bigger. They've got a bigger outdoor space as well. The location's a lot easier for people to get straight to it on the metro, unless of course you're familiar with the hotel that's nearer to the Tyne Bank, like Becca was. But unfortunately, I'm never going to be able to solve the problem for everybody, but it is location wise, it's a lot easier to get to.
Whereabouts is it, Carl, in comparison?
So Walkergate. Yeah, so it's not far off like the Coast Road and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
What's the nearest metro station?
Walkergate. It's literally 5-minute walk, or whatever to get straight into there. And
there are loads of buses out of town that go down Shields Road.
Carl, you haven't quite pronounced that right, because I'm from that area.
Waggagate.
It's Waggagate.
Waggagate. Cheers, like Chris.
I'm actually from Wackerville.
Joe, it's that famous thing that happened in the US around about 1968, 69. Watergate, sorry. It's basically Watergate, but just a bit hard.
Is that how I say it? Watergate. Right, okay.
Watergate.
Okay.
Why I? But yeah, I mean, it's a great venue.
Biker Grove.
Yeah, you get mugged if you said that round Biker Grove.
Yeah, probably. I walked through there. Yes. I remember that when I was a child.
Yeah, but if you look at on Google, if you just put in Anarchy Brew and you look at some of the pictures, the tap room is really good. It
sounds great.
A fantastic venue.
How set on that date are you, Carl? Because I can't make it.
I'm pretty set. It's pretty set. The 2nd of September.
It was brilliant. So I'm gutted I can't make it. But,
is there no way you can organise the wedding or
I've tried breaking them up. They're just not having it.
Ian, on the note of all this chaos,
friends or family.
Whiskey Festival wedding. I know what I'd choose, and it's.
I agree, Ian. On the note of all this chaos, do you want to tell everyone, Ian?
Yes.
What you did before you worked in whiskey?
Why? No one cares about
that. Yes, we do. Tell us.
Do.
It's funny.
Yeah, we do.
Why? Oh well, I was Scotland's salesman for it was a company in Blackpool actually. I was the Scotland guy for
You should wait and let everyone guess what you were.
Oh yeah, well come on then guess. What I was a salesman, but what did I sell?
I thought it was going to be something like a wedding planner based upon the conversation.
No, not wedding planner, no.
Andy Rock.
We're at a wedding, Ian.
Condoms.
Ian, is it wigs?
Huh?
Is it wigs?
I love this.
It's not wigs. No, good guess though. No, I had hair when I had that job.
Ian, I'll guess test driver for Caterham.
No, that's also a good guess. I'm not a member of the Lotus 7 Club.
I actually run the Lotus 7 Club.
Oh really?
Yes. Don't guess that club.
Oh no, I had my flatmate. My flatmate at uni his dad was a big into it. I think he was in it and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, that's we do a Scottish tour every year in May, and we go around in the sevens and go to the distilleries.
Oh, brilliant!
One hell of a way to do it. Do you drive there?
You never stop in St Andrews.
In little racing cars as well between the distilleries.
Yeah. We're
very inconspicuous.
We'll collect all the drivers' packs.
I love it.
Oh, that's really good.
I do a similar thing in my MX-5, so.
I like MX-5.
Well, if either of you ever stop in St Andrews, let me know.
So, Ian, you're not a musician, is that not right?
No, that is true. I did study music. I studied music, and me and my oh yeah, that's where I can plug that. Me and my brother have a band called Braw. So if you want to listen to any of our music, we are called Braw on the internet, like BRAW, and we even did a song about whiskey called Whiskey in Hand. So you can listen to our whiskey song if you like.
Before you worked in whiskey, what were you in?
Before, so I actually this is when I first came to Newcastle and stuff. I was the field salesman for Scotland and the northeast of England for bins.
Oh.
Yeah. See, it wasn't that exciting, was it? Pretty damn boring. But posh bins, so like recycling bins for offices and stuff like that.
They don't know what bins is.
You were a rubbish salesman then.
I was a rubbish salesman. Oh my god, yeah.
And
no, that was when I first came to Newcastle and stuff, and discovered that everyone's actually a lot nicer than like. See, when you're trying to cold call places in Scotland and sell them bins, they're just like, go like F off. You could walk into like the biggest bank or something like that in Newcastle, like and they'll be like, oh hello, come on in. They're so nice. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had a good experience in Newcastle.
Always.
And this is why I made him tell the story.
I used to stay in the Holiday Inn Express right in the centre, like the one with the car park that was like very hazardous and tight.
Yeah.
But
See,
yeah,
there was a reason I made him tell that story.
I know, yeah. Well, it wasn't that exciting. I think you bigged it up a bit there, Aiden.
No,
I don't know.
Correct.
Can we move on to the peated
Thumbs up.
Yes, let's go on to the peated
Yes,
whiskey.
let's go on to Bunnahabhainn.
No. Well, hang on. We've got to do number 3.
Oh, yes.
So that the unfinished Royal Brackla. What are we thinking?
Oh, we ahead.
All right. Okay. Dave's
Still doing thumbs.
Don't think Joe liked it at all, even less.
Dave's not. Dave Howell's not keen. Dad, what were you?
Joe's already.
Oh, okay. Oh, not keen either. Okay.
Fair enough.
Not keen either.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of been a bit of a room split. Okay. So what about the finish, the red wine Royal Brackla?
It's like complete and utter opposites, isn't it? It's like
bloody hell. So Joe, we're not sure whether you like that one or not. And Jane as well. Jane's not keen either. Bloody hell. Oh, Caroline, you liked it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Lee, I didn't spot you. What were you thinking on that red wine one?
I'm in the middle. I prefer the unfinished for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Fair enough. That's
Mark
interesting.
and Alan.
Now, Dave.
Mark, Alan, what do you?
Both
Okay,
thumbs
both
up.
thumbs up. Right. Okay. Okay.
I think they're eating crisps or nuts. I'm jealous. Jealous boys.
All right. Well.
Oh, Maltesers.
Maltesers even.
So I think we are now on to our last dram of the night.
We are.
Oh, green and black chocolate.
I do have
This one smells like heaven.
I have to go get some.
Ah, you like your peated, Joe. I know that.
Let's dive into the
I've
Bunnahabhainn.
seen enough of your posts.
Drew.
So run down on the basic stats of this one. So it is a Stowisha, which is the peated version of Bunnahabhainn. Obviously,
A-peated.
Bunnahabhainn is normally unpeated, but their Stowisha is their peated range. So this is the Copper and Oak series
They
as
have
well.
one or two other names for it as well.
Yeah. So this was
That's how they sell it to independents.
We were quite lucky with this barrel. This was a very, very good barrel. It was at first, because sometimes when you buy casks, you don't always know what you're going to get, and they can sometimes be tired, old, third fill, worse, rubbish things.
So
this was
generally
the first.
speaking, it will be listed as barrel, and you won't know whether it's first, second, third.
Correct. So
So
we were
got
lucky with this one. This was a first fill Jim Beam bourbon barrel, and they do make some of the best the best whiskey barrels for bourbon ones. So it's 8 years old, so it's relatively young. But I know, Aidan, you're of the opinion you quite like young peat.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Whereas with most whiskey, there's big debates about the sweet spot. With peated whiskey, there tends to be a consensus among certainly those who make it that it peaks between 6 and 8, because the longer you leave a peated whiskey in the barrel, the more the peat will mute and the more you'll get secondary and tertiary characteristics. So you want something big and peat led, you want 6 to 8 year old peated. Any older, the peat will start to go down. That doesn't mean you necessarily prefer that style of peat. If you want big peat, 6 to 8.
And it's in the tail end of that category, so it's 8 years old, 57.6% cask strength again, and
this is one of our lowest of tonight.
It is. If you haven't been to Bunnahabhainn, this is a particularly beautiful distillery down a very windy single track road, and it looks over to, if you stand on the pier at Bunnahabhainn, you look over to the Isle of Jura, which is lovely.
Very true,
and
Neil.
there is also the Corryvreckan whirlpool, which you can kind of see just out in the bay. So it's a lovely distillery, and they do
On a
lovely
clear day.
work. They do lovely warehouse tours. If you've not, I'm sure people will maybe have been there. I don't know who hasn't, but I can highly recommend it.
Yeah, I was there in September. It was fantastic.
Nice.
David Brody did
Isn't
our
it?
warehouse
What
tour.
I will say is, very first time we visited, we didn't have time to fit it into our tours proper. We wanted to visit,
You've
and
got
we
to
thought,
with Dave Brody. Dave Brody's the man.
okay,
Okay.
true. We thought we might be able to get a shop tasting or something, but we actually went on one of the days the distillery was completely closed, but the gate was wide open. So we wandered in and took a few photos. You know, the big pile of barrels at the edge, and down on the pier in the distillery itself. It was just a magical afternoon.
But then obviously we went back when it was open and did an actual warehouse tasting as well another year.
This is true, but that very first, and we'd already done like 2 distillery tours that day anyway. We maybe didn't need the whiskey.
I tell my little story then. For
Go ahead.
We were there in September, and I know David Brody quite well. Spoke to him an awful lot. He's one of the reps there, and we turned up at the tour. It was about 9:30 in the morning, and he brought us over some breakfast whiskies to start with.
Nice.
And then took us around the distillery, went into the warehouse, and I was quite close to the front as I was talking to him as we're going in. And where he does his warehouse tasting, he's got 4 or 5 casks at the front, and then there's 3 pews around it in like a horseshoe shape.
Yeah.
And my little
We've done one there with them, I think.
Yeah, we're going to sit at the front near to Dave, so we hear what he's saying and everything. And Dave tapped me on the shoulder and said, "No, you guys sit at the back." So we had us sat at the back behind some Americans and Japanese who were there, which we weren't too happy about. And then Dave starts talking about his whiskey. He knows everything about sherry casks. Anything about sherry casks, he's your man.
Yeah.
So he drew out whiskey into these big measuring cylinders, and he went round and he poured everybody a tot of whiskey. And then he filled the measuring cylinder back up and then just passed it to us on the back row and said, "There you go, guys, pour that out."
Lucky man.
Fantastic time.
I've had the pleasure to meet him once or twice, but I don't know him well.
Oh,
If you could convince him to sell direct to us, we would love to know him better either way.
He's on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. That's where whiskey's on Twitter.
As it happens, we actually went for a tour with David. He doesn't work Saturdays anymore, but strangely, he was working last Saturday. I said to Caroline on Friday, should we go and do a Warehouse 9 tasting? And he was there. Yeah. So we got the pleasure of his company last Saturday morning.
He's a really good guy.
Is Dave and Caroline, where do you live? Remind us.
Tell him.
Yeah, not far, strangely, Joe. Not far. We can see your love Freud.
You can you? Yes.
It looks a nice place.
Caroline, thank you for the please. It's lovely.
I've stayed in Port Ellen a couple of times.
Got my top on.
There you go, Joe. Just for you. Caroline didn't bother getting changed.
Next time we're on Isla, we'll need to say hello.
Definitely.
Please do.
Back to my MX-5. The road down to Bunnahabhainn. It's very interesting.
Yes, I bet it is.
Yes, it is.
I thought it was interesting in Land Rover, never mind the MX-5.
It's all I can say. We had a bit of snow last week. It's a lot worse since. Every road in Isla has suffered in the last week, like really badly.
That and the road down to Kilhoman.
Yeah. I adore Isla, but the roads are so bad.
Especially when I was
they just fucking invest in it.
Driving to Bunnahabhainn and a tanker's coming out, and it's like, fortunately,
that's why the roads are so bad.
Just by one of the farms, so I carried on down the farm track, and tanker just went past me. It's like, where do we go? Where do we go? Yeah, interesting road down to Bunnahabhainn, and now Ardnahoe is down there as well.
I've not been yet. I need to.
Ardnahoe was lovely. It's very.
Last time I was on Isla, they were just breaking the turf and starting on it. I mean, I was in Jim's cottage outside, but I haven't been in the distillery itself yet. It's been a couple of years since I managed to make it across.
Isla is just one of those places where if whether you're into whiskey or not.
It's my personal pilgrimage.
It's a wonderful place.
Just being on Isla, casually relaxed, or whatever else. It's my special place. Come on, it's Isla.
Oh gosh, yes.
So what's the stats on the Bunner anyway? Let's try and drag this.
I'll recap the stats on it. So it was a first fill Jim Beam bourbon barrel. It was filled in October 2013, so it's 8 years old. 115 bottles of this release and 57.6%.
And that one, we're finishing in what Ian showed you.
Yes, that one is finishing in this one.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Very nice. So what we thinking, guys?
Any tasting notes off this one?
Smoky bacon and savoury and just umami, and it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. It's
Bonfire
really
on the
beautiful.
beach, peat smoke, salt, tropical fruit,
Yeah.
very dry,
Yeah,
yummy.
beach bonfire all the way.
Yep. In fact, that is on your tasting note. Probably can't see it there, but no, you can't. But the bottom of the tasting notes does say, "This is an intense dram taking you back to good barbecues and bonfires on the beach." So that's Bob on that one.
Yeah.
Ross, what are you thinking? Is this more up your street?
Yep, this is absolutely delicious. It's everything I want in whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So when we were offered this, it was a little bit of a wild card. It wasn't a bad price. We wanted it because, in theory, Peter Bunnahabhainn, you don't always see that often. And Isla, in theory, is really reliable. But again, as independent bottlers, a lot of the time, if you don't buy quickly, someone else has bought it, so you're never going to get a sample.
No, it was quite. They are quite tricky to get a hold of. Any of the Isla casks that come up,
In particular.
Obviously, a lot of the independent bottlers, because obviously we're only just new. We've only started in October, and a lot of these indie bottlers have got huge buying power, and they'll buy big parcels of casks. So they can. They've got a bit more negotiation, but as the little guys just starting up, it's quite tricky to get your hands on an Isla one. So we're really happy to get this one. That's a lovely dram.
It's
I was
usually
even happier when we tried it and got quality.
It's often Kalila that
Yeah,
everybody.
Kalila is the only one that you can get for cheap, which is why every indie bottler in the world tends to do a Kalila this, Kalila that. And don't get me wrong, I like Kalila, but there's a hell of a lot of it out there.
And
now.
I will admit, we own one Kalila cask.
We do own one, but we don't know what.
Isla is almost always
Yeah.
Kalila.
Yeah.
We'd rather steer clear of.
Yeah.
We love Kalila, but it's so often done.
Yeah.
If we can afford to do something that's not, we will.
My first experience with Bunnahabhainn was actually visiting the distillery was Facial in 2015.
Wonderful.
Lucky woman. I love it.
When the office was still upstairs, you had to go up the little metal stairs in the courtyard, and because they've recently spent I don't know how many millions revamping.
Yeah, the first time we were there, they had bugger all out.
Yeah. Anyway, we're all queuing to get up the stairs because you had to go to the little office upstairs and
To buy anything, yeah.
and report in and sign in for your various tours and tastings and stuff. It started to chuck down with rain as we're all queuing.
Welcome to Scotland.
Yeah, but within a couple of minutes, the staff appeared at the top of the stairs with umbrellas for people to borrow. Anyone who hadn't got an umbrella, they got umbrellas, being followed by 2 or 3 members of staff with drams on trays because they said they couldn't have us queuing in the rain without offering us a dram.
I love that.
I've loved Bunnahabhainn ever since. That is how you build customer loyalty.
So I will admit.
Admittedly, it was only the 12-year-old, but that's a fantastic dram anyway. And just the fact that they thought about us, we were standing there, it was actually quite cold, it was pouring down with rain, and they thought enough about us would offer us umbrellas to anyone who didn't have any and a drum. That's
I
how
dream of mine, and I think also Ian's for quite a while now. We haven't yet got to the fish, although we can't wait. We will do it, hopefully soonish.
Yeah, fingers crossed, aye.
The big thing for the fish, as I'm sure you all know, is accommodation goes really quick. Disabled, accessible accommodation goes quicker. It will take some planning, but I will get there.
We'll get you there eventually.
Yeah.
This one is on the website. They're all there. They're all there apart from the red wine. Lovers or hate it, it's not there yet.
Soon.
Soon. Along with their other finishing cast.
Start of March for those. Should be the 3rd of March. We put those online. What, the red wine or the snowy show?
What did you say, Carl? Sorry?
No, I was just asking whether Tim's already buying bottles. He does. Tim, are you buying? He's not even listening to me now.
That's hopefully a yes.
Tim, are you buying bottles already? He's not listening. Anyway, stuff him.
But yeah, I'll put the before I leave. I will put the discount code back on the chat of the YI10 spelt with a WEY. YI.
Ross is looking for a link.
So yes, if you can give a list of what you thought was your best to your least favourite out of the lineup. So I've just noticed Chris has just said the Bunna is his favourite. You was the Bunna your yours was the red wine.
Red wine, then Bunna.
I thought Port Dundas might have been up there actually.
Yeah, number 2 was last. The first one was 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think for me the Bunna was possibly my favourite, but I'm putting that Port Dundas maybe as my second.
Red wine definitely for me.
I mean, one thing we're finding throughout, which we really love, is most, if not all of our dramas are being really well received, which is awesome. While individual preferences vary, which is exactly what you want, really.
No, we like to try and have a contrast going on, so that there's something, for a variation. It's not all just the same old stuff. You get a lot of similar stuff on the market. So, yeah, love it. So there'll be quite contrasting opinions if you love it or hate some. But yeah, it tends to be a big mix.
So I've got a big question for Fib Whisky.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What's your cask kind? Were you able to share what kind of casks you might have in your portfolio? What kind of stuff you might be looking to release in the future?
A very short summary is, I mean, we're in Pinball, so we have to look at what we can get, either directly or from brokers and so on and so on. We have a good variety of stuff. Most of it's bourbon, but we have a few interesting things. As I said, we've got Madeira cask, we've got a port cask, we've got, what other slightly more unusual stuff do we have, Ian?
Yeah, we've got Madeira cask, port
We've
cask,
got-
but the green tea one's a bit mental.
We've got Oloroso.
Yeah, we have, but I mean, we haven't got a huge amount of sherry in the portfolio because it tends to be extremely expensive to buy ready-made, like pre-sherried sherries. So obviously this really the Copper and Oak series is going to be something that we're doing annually, as is the finishing series. We're always going to do them back to back, the same bottles.
Our
before
aim
and
is to
after.
eventually try to do 2 a year of each.
Eventually, but
For the moment, we're doing roughly 1 a year.
At the moment, it'll be 1 a year. So we'll have
Give
the
or take.
second. So obviously, we'll have the finishing series coming out in line with the Fife Whisky Festival in March, and then later on in the year, kind of similar time to when we brought out this lot, we'll be bringing out our second Copper and Oak series, and then this time next year we'll be bringing out the second finishing series, if not sooner, to be fair, because we're kind of doing that at the moment already. So I don't think Aidan will mind me saying that obviously this finishing series was quite wine based. Because we got those lovely wine casks from the south of France. The second finishing series that we'll be doing will be much more sherry influenced than this first one. So we'll have a bit of something a bit different there. And yeah, and we have got other casks. You know, we always like to include a grain whiskey in the series that we do. So we've got a few more grains up our sleeve as well. Some older ones as well.
I mean,
so
additionally, one thing we always want to source as a company that cares about both transparency and supporting local businesses is we like to source Fife. So we have some Cameron Bridge on our portfolio. Most of it is currently on the younger side. One thing I'll mention, because I think this group, it's a shame Joe's not on the screen right now, because I think Joe in particular will find this interesting.
Oh, our weird Cameron
Yeah,
Bridge
I'm about
cast.
to mention that.
Yeah.
So the first Cameron Bridge we bought, guys, we got a sample afterwards. It's a 16-year-old, and the second I tasted it, I was shocked. I was worried.
Yes, you were very worried.
It tastes like Kalila.
Yes.
We haven't accidentally peated Cameron Bridge.
Yeah, so we've had a Cameron Bridge.
I'm
that's
genuinely
obviously-
not joking.
It's obviously been filled into an ex Diageo Kalila cask or something like that.
Joe, you missed this. Joe. They were just asking about a portfolio, and I was mentioning a few things, but when I was mentioning Fife Distilleries and how we would like to have some, I was mentioning we accidentally, obviously we like Fife Distilleries, we like grain. It's no surprise we've tried to get some Cameron Bridge. The first Cameron Bridge we bought, we tasted it. I was shocked. I was worried.
Yes, it was accidentally peated.
It tastes like Kalila.
Yeah, so we had a
It's
Cameron
either a
Bridge.
Lefroy or a Diageo.
Yeah.
In either a Lefroy or a Kalila cask, definitely. We will
So
be
it's
bottling
interesting-
that within the year.
Yes, we will be.
So we accidentally have a peated grain.
Aye.
It's about 16 years old, so it's a little harsh.
Very
When I
interesting,
first
though.
tried it, it tasted like Kalila. It's very different. It's quite fun. When you expect sweet, grainy Cameron Bridge, it's weird. It's worrying. It's not necessarily nice.
Yeah.
But the more you drink it, the more it grows on you.
I'd be happy to review it for you.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be welcome to have a sample when we got it when it's ready to go.
Exactly. That's what I'm just putting in the chat. That isn't always a problem.
No, definitely not.
No,
I
yeah.
was just a little bit shocked.
And
when we
I've
first got
got
it, because it was so different.
And I've got a cask I've got a cask as well, so it's not a problem. I'm
Good.
yeah, 2000,
But no, yeah.
2008.
Grain. That's gorgeous.
Very nice.
Yeah. So guys,
that's one exciting thing we'll have coming up.
I don't know if there was a particular cask. I don't know if Ian or Aidan, you've got a particular cask that you can't wait to try, that there's one that you think is going to be an absolute stunner. I know you've said that that's a really interesting cask that you're looking forward to bottling, but is there a cask in your portfolio at the moment that you just cannot wait? You think it's going to be an absolute stunner?
So I think this is the right time, Ian. Don't you, to talk about our Bell Blair?
Oh yeah. That is an interesting one. I've forgotten about that one. To be fair, we don't know what we're planning with that yet. When we're going to release that, it'll be a special one-off release.
Well, that's the case that we're going to keep tasting inside when.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys, but we've tasted some really interesting rum finishes.
Right.
And what we're also very aware of is the Scottish rum scene is blossoming. Do any of you guys know about J. Gow in Orkney?
Well, we know about the Isla rum distillery.
Well, J. Gow are doing some incredible stuff up in Orkney. They've been going for about 6 years now.
It's the pirate themed rum that you see. There's a lot of ships on it, and I say that it's bloody old pirate themed, isn't it?
It's really nice stuff. So we are the first people, to our knowledge, in whiskey to have the guts to get a barrel from a Scottish rum distillery, put a whiskey in it, and see what happens.
Yeah, single malt Scotch with a Scottish rum finish. So I don't think it's been done before. So that's
It's not
really
yet come
forward
out
to.
anyway.
Well,
Other people may be working on it, but anyway.
I don't suppose that might be ready for around September because Christine just kind of.
Well, it depends.
Festival.
Well, the thing is, it actually might, because it had made really good progress when we last tasted it, and that was
So
3 or 4
when we
three or
first
3
got-
months ago.
Is there a festival going on in early September, Carl?
There might.
I don't know.
There might be.
So, so when we first got the Balblair cask,
yes,
I was really excited when we were offered it because I love the distillery. It was about 14 years old. It was a decent price, way ahead. And we tasted it and it had underperformed.
Yeah, it was it had been in a pretty.
I don't
naff
mind
cask.
admitting that.
So it was a
So-
good one to re-rack into something special to make it better.
So we re-racked it. We tried it after. Was the last sample
It
around
was
4
only
or
after
5
about
months?
a month. It was no, we only tried it after about a month and a
No,
half. Or
it was
something
at
like.
least 3 months. It was.
2 top. There was 2 tops, and it.
No, it was
really
about 3 by the time.
Well, whatever you say, but it was
We'll
very
need
improved.
to try it again soon.
We do, but it was really
But
good.
it was making really good progress. And we're really happy with the cast. We're really happy with our partnership with a small rum distillery on Orkney. If you look them up in terms of distillation, they're really fun. They like to experiment with things like wild yeast. They like to experiment with different mash bills. And they like to explain it all in video so you know about it. And can understand it. They're absolutely the type of distillery that's been inspired by Brackla and others. They're absolutely the sort of people we want to partner with. And we're really excited to be using that barrel. So we'll keep an eye on how that's doing.
So is that your pick of the? That's you're most excited about that one, are you, Aidan?
I think
about
in
you,
terms
Ian?
of what we've got up, I'm most excited to see how that turns out and when we bought it. Yeah.
Cool.
Have you got any English whiskey in your portfolio?
Not yet. Haven't.
Not
To be honest,
currently. We would be happy
haven't.
to.
We haven't. If
I will
not been
add
offered
this.
any, but
There are some incredible English distilleries out there.
If
we were offered
you would-
samples at good price, we would.
If you would like to buy some, I have some
Consider it.
available.
well, there you go.
If you email us and can get us a sample, we'll happily consider it.
I've got the 2 first casks of Ardgefren. I've got 2 of
Oh, that sounds fun.
2 well, one is a tequila cask from
Now that's exciting.
from Filey. And then I've got a Lakes cask, which is from when they first opened.
I love lakes.
Very
Actually,
nice.
they're really good.
Hence my
Stop
lake.
bragging, Chris.
Hence my lakes.
Well,
Carl,
well,
I've never actually mentioned them once to you because they are just literally, they were just sitting there to sell, not the bottle.
Yeah, just
Well-
afterthoughts.
well, put it this way,
what a nightmare. First world problems.
Well, I've just heard.
If you can get us a sample,
I was going to. I've
we'd
just
be
heard.
very
Lakes,
happy to consider them.
I've just heard Lakes. It
It
literally,
obviously depends on the prices.
somebody's just messaged saying Lakes Infinity's just won an award for how good it is.
I have a lot of time for English distilleries. I will say this: we were talking about North British earlier.
I know the owner of the Cotswolds Distillery, so
Good guy, yeah.
No way.
Oh my God!
I've
Will
only
you
spoken to him
stop
once.
about English whiskey, for God's sake.
Guys, English whiskey is good too.
Shut up. No.
But what I will say is partially a joke, partially not. We were talking about North British earlier.
Now, try not to turn everyone off from Fib, Aidan.
Calm down, calm down.
Well, just a warning.
We love all whiskies from every region. But Ian and I are both quite pro Scottish independence because Westminster is a total fuck up, to put it mildly.
Well, here it goes. Everyone who's please leave now if you're.
So, the name. We know they do great. We'll never bottle anything with the British label on it.
I know it's a shame because
until after independence. When everything changes.
On independence. Oh my God. Right. On that note,
on that bombshell,
I'm going to jump in and say, before anybody starts disappearing, because I know it's getting relatively late.
It's getting, yeah.
It's been beautiful to speak to you all.
In the morning.
Yeah, well, I want to just say thank you to everybody who came on the tasting. I know that a load of people will be watching the recording because they weren't able to make it tonight, but have the tasting set, so hopefully they'll be able to see how great some of the whiskies they've got to look forward to. But thank you very much for joining. It's been a cracking night. It's not ending now. The tasting's over, so grab a dram if you want to. The V pub will stay open if you want to share some more. And obviously, Aidan.
I might stay for a few drams.
Brilliant. Well, Aidan and Ian, thank you very much for joining us and sharing some fantastic whiskies. I'm still thinking the most weird was that cloudberry. I loved it. But
very wacky.
It's been an amazing lineup here. Thank you very much for that. And look forward to our next tasting together. Hopefully, it will be before the festival. But if not, we will see you in the festival. And thank you very much. Like I say, you don't have to disappear, but obviously, thank you very much. That's the end of our 6 drams tonight. Obviously, we've got the Lefroy ones, and I think a lot of you have got the Lefroy.
That actually sounds a fun tasting.
It will be quite an interesting.
I'm almost tempted to buy tickets.
Well, there is still a set or two left, not many, but
I might have a look in a couple of minutes.
But and thank you, Caroline and Dave, for organising that as well, because it's an amazing lineup that's going to be as well. But yeah,
Carl, with respect, that's all Caroline. It's got nothing to do with me. It's all Caroline.
Well, no, you're welcome. Looking forward to it, and hope everyone loves the selection.
And just to re-emphasise, people be more than happy to bottle English whiskey because they're amazing distillers in England. Absolutely.
Cheers, guys. I'm over here. See you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Cheers, guys.
And like I say, you can stick around for anybody who wants to join with drams and stuff there. But thank you very much.
No, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Carl, for having us.
Ian, that was fantastic.
No, you're very welcome.
And I'm glad you enjoyed the drams.
Thank you for supporting us, because we're not a big.
Mainly.
It's only me and Aidan.
Actually, you can probably tell from my top, I'm a big supporter of indies.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Carl. Good night, and thanks to Fib Whisky.
And again, as a new
thank you very much for coming.
We understand the skepticism from some people early on. It is pricey sometimes, but hopefully it's good whiskey.
Yeah.
As we get older as a company, our prices definitely will come down in the coming years. But yeah, to start off a company in this particular climate has not been particularly cheap or easy to do.
No.
But we're glad that some of the whiskies have turned out so well, and there are some wacky ones out there, and we like room splitters anyway. But no, thank you for having us, Carl. It's been brilliant, and like I said, you guys have been like one of the most welcoming internet communities, and this is actually officially the first one of these tastings we've done. We've got a few more planned next month.
Yeah, we literally just hosted our first tasting tonight.
Yeah, when we've got.
So thank you all for putting up with us.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with us. Much appreciated.
Thank you for coming and sharing your whiskies. We really appreciate it. Really good.
No, thank you for sharing your thoughts on them, and it's much appreciated. So no, it's been brilliant. Lovely to meet you guys, and I look forward to meeting all of you at Carl's Festival as well. And yes, if you do buy any off the website, the code is YI10. Just drop me a message on it if you've forgotten it or it's not working.
I love that you chose that as the code, Ian.
Yeah, you what?
I said I love that you chose that as the code. It's perfect.
Well, I thought it'd be fun with the code, wouldn't I? But if it doesn't work for some reason, just send me a message. I'm on the group as Ian Mundy. That is the code.
Is it capitalized or it doesn't matter?
I've tested it before. It is capitalized, but I've tested it uncapitalized and it works, so it's all good.
Right, grand.
Ian, did you
And
say? Ian, did you say 10% off the Ardmore wine finish?
Not yet, sadly.
I'll save a discount code for you on that one. Don't worry.
Actually,
that's going to be very fun.
I was also, before anybody else disappears, just as I'm going to throw this out there, right, and see what interest it gets. But NEWAS was set up nearly 8 years ago on the 7th of April.
Right.
So I'm considering an anniversary party, probably at the Anarchy Brewery on the 7th of April, which happens to be a Friday. So I'm just throwing it out there. Who might be interested if I put together a nice little party? And
Carl, are you saying there's a 7th year party on the 7th of April for somebody who runs the 7th Kit Car Club for 7 kit cars who actually has got a 7 in the hand because they cut the hand so badly when they were 7?
Well, I'm saying it's the 8th anniversary, but it's on the 7th. Sorry, it doesn't quite line up perfectly. But there is
777, lucky number though.
Yeah, it is. But this is the 8th of the 7th or the 7th of the whatever. Anyway, I don't know if that might be of interest to people, but I'm considering doing a party anyway. So just if you got any feedback, lob me an email or message if you'd be up for potentially taking part in a mini festival, if you like.
Would that be this year?
Yes.
What was the
We
date
could
again?
probably
Carl?
plan for something for 10th or 9th.
It's the 7th
you want
of
a
April.
cask.
7th of April. I'm absolutely in the red zone there. We're totally around due date. So
okay.
Would have loved to have made it, but,
It's half term for the kids.
Yeah,
So
it is actually Easter. Well, sorry, the Good Friday.
Friday,
So, yeah. So, and that's why I wanted to put it out there and test the market, so to speak, because it's a difficult date potentially for a lot of people, but
any other year I would have been there.
yeah, no.
Well, you'll be there for the 10th.
Anyway, I thought I'd throw it out there, have a think, and let me know. Okay, thank you. Right, VPub, I guess, for anybody who wants to stick around.
Well, I've got to jump off, unfortunately, because I'm driving. I'll probably be driving not too far from you. Well, no, I will be. I won't quite be going on the A69. I'll be going on the A66, I guess. But I'm heading south to Lincoln tomorrow morning, so I've got to jump off. But thank you so much for having us, Carl. It's been wonderful and lovely to meet you all, and I can't wait to meet you all in person coming down in September.
Thank you, Ian.
Cheers, Ian. Nice to see you.
No, nice to meet you all. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Ian. Thank you very much.
See you guys. Take care.
Right.
So
I have a very large personal whiskey collection. What should I pour next? Suggestions, people.
An Ardmore.
An English one. An English one.
English one. I can probably do Lakes actually. I'll
Well,
just ask
well,
one
I
of my
do-
colleagues to have a look.
Well, I do, but I don't have any that's open here, so I no longer have any open bottles. So I'm gonna have to love yous and leave yous. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Well, drop us a line when you can, my friend. And we look forward to hearing from you if you ever want to send us samples.
Definitely.
And otherwise, just keep up with us.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. A very great.
Thank you again, Carl, as well. Cheers, Aidan. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
So I'm on currently a whiskey broker, Brackla 10-year-old, which is actually a River Salt's rosé wine.
Oh, nice.
So it's
well, River Salt's is rosé or an amber, yeah. So it's quite interesting. Our winey friends right now with. Frankly, in terms of international trade, I'm going to call it the Brexit debacle. No offense, Brexit supporters. But the fact is, they can't send wine to private individuals right now. So I've not actually managed to try their actual bottles in 2 or 3 years. But as I was writing up our back labels, I managed to find a bottle shop, actually fairly local, thankfully, that had managed to get some of their stock in. So I've recently restocked on our favorite winery. So that's nice for the wine fans. And if my camera were working when we were on the wine, I'd have shown you their bottle for the wine finish in question. But I'm just hunting down a lakes to pour as requested. Let me see what I have just found. Ooh, Whiskey Maker Reserve number 3. Why not?
Oh, nice. Well, the
Very
other,
nice
the other
shade.
bottle, the other bottle that we've sampling at the minute is the Galani Black from last.
I don't even know what that is. That sounds fun though.
Oh, I mean, if you haven't tried any Galani, you need to get in there quickly.
Can you send me how that's spelled?
So it's Golani.
By the time the night's done,
That's it.
No,
Oh,
no,
no, that's the one there.
Galani Black. Okay, okay.
It's
Israeli.
Oh, nice.
I need to arrange.
If you could at some point private message me as well, because I might forget after a few grams. It would be much appreciated.
Yeah.
How is it? Tell me about it. Thank you, Lee. Have a good night.
Oh, who's off?
I'm going to make
Take care, Lee.
as well. I'll
Okay, thank you, Neil.
Cheers, Aidan. Appreciate it. Cheers,
Pleasure
Carl,
to
for
meet you
arranging.
until the next time, whenever it may be.
Yep, likewise.
you,
Cheers. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Take care, Lee.
So if you'd like to know a little bit about Galani, Aidan,
Please, I've never even heard of them before today.
It's based in the Galani Heights, hence the name of the distillery. They have a couple of places in which they leave their casks. So they have a couple of places actually in the mountains, and then they have also a couple of places down by, I think it's the Sea of Galilee. Or
That's
somewhere,
really cool site.
Which is so
I take
the
it they don't put them
mountains
in metal
keep-
cages on them.
No, so the in the mountains they're kept very cold down by the sea. It's look at that, an 18-year-old Baines. Bloody hell, you don't see them anymore. The Sea of Galilee is very, very hot, obviously, so you get quite a lot of differences. But their raison d'etre, if you will, for me, is their unicorn casks. So this is a single cask of whiskey, and I've never had a bad one. So my favorite was they did a beer cask, which I've still got about 2 or 3 bottles of, because I bought a case of it. It's just fantastic. It's bonkers. It's just great. Honestly, the stuff by the Israeli whiskey distillery, so Milk and Honey, and those guys are just amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on almost all of their releases. My only bugbear is the Dead Sea release. To me, it seems like manufactured scarcity.
I think it was just.
I know we disagree, Brian, and I'm sorry. To me, it feels like a company too much money trying to take advantage.
It wasn't that expensive. It was only £90. It wasn't.
No,
that
it
much.
wasn't.
Well, that's how much I bought my 2 bottles for.
You were a lucky boy.
I tried it.
When Chilton brought it to my attention,
and then I bought 2 bottles.
when Chilton brought it to my attention, it was about 150.
No, I don't
I
pay
was
more
like,
than £100.
okay, this is the thing. For 90, it's interesting and fun.
Aidan, if
For
you buy directly from the
150, it's
distillery,
fishy.
if you buy directly from the distillery, you'll buy in Israeli shekels, but they
The
typically
exchange
will
rate
ship-
works.
Yeah, it does, and also the benefit to you is typically the lads will find ways to make it duty, so that they find ways to make sure that you don't have hassles with customs.
Sorry, if you can see my face right now, I find this hilarious because I'm a quite good friend of Chilton.